Recording. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're having a technical
Get a neighbor.
problem.
I know.
That's very short.
Can,
Did they give you stuff for the taxi
What she did
lady?
is very short.
Kathleen, can we just
The info you
proceed
need?
and recite?
For the taxi lady.
Excuse me? Go now. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newark Municipal Council's public meeting. Please rise for the singing of the national anthem and remain standing for the invocation by Pastor Stephanie McKay, 1 Timothy Baptist Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic
For which it
stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Eternal God, our Father, we thank you once more and again for life, health, and strength. We thank you, most Heavenly Father, for our nights lying down, early rising this morning. Now, God, we ask in your precious name that you will dismiss everything from our minds that's not like thee. We ask now, oh God, that you will just sit in the midst of this meeting. We say thank you because we claim in advance that it's going to go according to your purpose. We love you, we praise you, and we magnify you for what you're going to do in this place on today. Each and every heart, we ask that you'll search it right now in the name of Jesus and allow them to speak, oh God, with the clarity of speech, and that, oh God, that they may not come with any other agenda in order to do the agenda that's at hand. And we say thank you now for the president of this council in this august body. We thank you. In Jesus' name we do pray. Let every praying heart say amen.
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 Amen again.
Eddie, thanks. One more. One more. Yeah.
Madam President, in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice has been provided to the Star Ledger, the Jersey Journal, and the public at large, establishing the date, time, and location of this meeting. May I have a roll call of those present, please?
Roll call, please.
Gonzalez,
Present.
Present.
Bill Jenkins, absent. McCallum, absent. Osborne.
Present.
Quintana.
Here.
Ramos.
Here.
President Crump.
Present.
To the agenda. Reports and recommendations of city officers, boards, and commissions, items 5A through 5G. Motion by Council of the Whole to accept.
Roll call, please.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jennifer Jenkins absent, McCallum absent, Osborne,
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
Ordinances on public hearing, second reading, and final passage. 6P SFA is an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 24, Procedures for Application Approval and Administration of Long-Term Tax Exemptions. Does anyone wish to be heard on this ordinance?
No one appearing, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk,
No one appearing.
no one is appearing.
Motion by Council of the Whole to close the public hearing and adopt.
Roll call.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jennifer Jenkins absent, McCallum absent, Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos,
Abstain.
President Trump.
Yes.
Next item is 6P SFB. It is an ordinance amending Title 41 of the Municipal Code of the City of Newark to establish a new chapter entitled Inclusionary Zoning for Affordable Housing. Does anyone wish to be heard on this ordinance? Please state your name and address for the record.
Lisa Parker, City of Newark. The inclusionary zoning for affordable housing is not inclusionary for Newark residents. It does not make more than $30,000 a year. We should not be approving an ordinance that is not inclusive of Newarkers until you have a transition plan for the people that you are disenfranchising and displacing, and have a plan for low-income housing.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon, Council. First, I would like to say that, yes, we do need an inclusionary zoning. However, our inclusionary zoning needs to be strengthened. We had a meeting on Monday night with the mayor and to talk about the MX3 and inclusionary zoning. This has been a long struggle and a long hot topic. People's agendas and accreditations have been questioned on why. Well, I'm saying we're the largest city in the state of New Jersey. Why should we take the same percentage as small townships? We need to set the example. We're a unique city. We need to set the example and set the standards high for this city. We should at least go 60%. 60%, 40%. Something more than 20%. We should get more. Why I say that, I've done research for 2 years in the East Ward, the South Ward, the North Ward. The only ward I didn't do was my own ward, and the Central Ward. And I have evidence to show it. I have had a paper published with the Anti-Poverty Network in Trenton on September 19th that states in the housing section that we need affordable housing, but it should go according to the need of the city. With the closing of Terrell Homes and the approval of it by the Newark Housing Authority, this is a perfect example. You have something on the agenda today that states that you're going to give somebody affordable housing and decrease the annual gross revenue to 5%. Revenue, the gross revenue, that means before taxes. So you're not even thinking about that. You're not even thinking about food, clothing, water, shelter, parking. These are things that we have to consider in this city. We need to really, really consider that we need to table it, go back. I asked you in a previous email, let's sit down and have an affordable housing task force. No one responded to that. But I'm begging you today, consider it. Be the first. Let's make history and let Newark be the first to raise the bar, raise the percentage for our city, because we need the affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay Areen. I live at 35 Maiden Lane here in Newark. I am here to speak on the failure to pass a strong rent protection around new construction in this city, one that's going to really protect working class people. But to underscore and to understand the significance of this failure and the need to pass a serious bill like Ms. Parker brought up, we've got to look at the broader context of what's happening in this city and beyond. We have to look at the continued expansion of charter schools, the privatization of public education with the so-called local control deal will do nothing to stop, and the central role that that plays in the gentrification and driving out of working class people and busting unions. We also have to look in the context of the criminal decision supported by the administration, supported by the Newark Housing Authority, and especially will be by the Trump administration, to destroy the homes of working class people at the Terrell Homes public housing development along the Passaic River, which developers are eyeing. That is a crime, another crime. And then we do have support from the federal government for some housing to house immigrants, imprison immigrants for the crime of trying to make a living and care for their families. And they are being dragged out by the ICE agents with the full support of the Essex County, who has an agreement with the federal government, with the Trump administration, to house over 1,000 immigrants at the detention center at the Essex County facility right in the immigrant quarter. And Mr. DiVincenzo, who's an employer of one of the people on our board, and who many on the council like to take Facebook photos and post it up, signed that contract. That's a crime. That needs to end. And we have to make it in the context of what's happening in Puerto Rico.
We need you to...
Let me speak. I have some time.
You must speak to the ordinance. Everyone else has done
all
that.
connected.
No, you must
These are
speak
connected.
to the
You
ordinance. It's not about Puerto Rico.
You're using up my time.
You must follow.
You're using up my
Your
time.
time.
Out of order.
You're out of order.
It's out of order.
So please speak. You know
The
better.
land grab that is happening in Newark today can only strengthen the land grab efforts that are going on by disaster capitalists in Puerto Rico to privatize and drive people out. So what we need to do is, one, to pass a serious inclusionary zoning that, as Ms. Parker brought up, really protects working class people. Add on time that you took up censoring me.
I have not stopped you.
And we need to close the Save Terrell Homes and shut down your detention center to imprison people for trying to make a living. You posture as friends of immigrants in an immigrant sanctuary city, and that you stay silent with the existence of this abomination right in our backyard.
Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Richard Camerari, 279 Delavan Avenue, Newark, New Jersey. I'm speaking to the ordinance regarding the inclusionary zoning ordinance. Some of what may sound redundant since we've been here before, but and I'm not, as most of you know, I'm not prone to hyperbole, but I think this is an extremely important ordinance. It's an ordinance which will, in fact, for the first time in Newark's history, embed in law a principle of housing equity and housing opportunity and economic integration in the housing that's being proposed throughout the city, and especially downtown. It's not radical. It's not revolutionary. Inclusionary zoning ordinances have been around since 1974. They're in 500 cities. They have nowhere been proven through a variety of studies, which I can give to you, to impede development or progress. They are simply a first step and a good part of the puzzle to solve the issue of affordable housing, and particularly low-income housing for the city. I've been working on low-income housing advocacy for years, and this is one tool that I think we can use to address it in Newark. I would remind everyone, these ordinances are always amendable. If something isn't working, we come back and change it. If it is working, we keep it. This is something which I said it wasn't radical, although in some ways it may be radical, at least in the times we're in today when the norm seems to be inequality and inequity. This is a way to solve one piece of solving the puzzle we have in Newark when it comes to low-income and moderate-income housing. It's not going to solve the entire thing. The 20% set-aside is usually standard for these type of things, but we all know that more needs to be done. This has to be packaged with stronger rent control, which you all passed, and thank you for that last month. It has to be packaged with advocacy for more federal funding and state funding for subsidies for low-income and extremely low-income housing. So if someone's looking for this ordinance to completely solve the problem of affordable housing, that's not going to happen. But what it does do is provide a solution for a portion of people, and that's no small thing. We're going to have hundreds of people who are now, hundreds of Newark families, low income and moderate income, who will now have access to decent affordable housing. All of them? No. But that's why we have to keep working on this. But I would say the way I look at this is just because we can't solve everything doesn't mean we shouldn't address something. And this addresses a very important something in terms of what the housing needs are for our city. So I would urge all of you to vote to pass this on second reading and final passage. I thank you for those who voted for it the first time. And we have to move on and keep working. So, and many of us will be happy to work with you on this in terms of moving forward and to the other kinds of solutions we need for affordable housing problems in Newark. Thank you for your time. I look forward to your vote, and I hope we'll be able to celebrate something historic. You will be the first city council in the history of Newark to pass something that actually embeds in law the principles and policies and practices of affordable housing opportunity for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you very much, Mr. Camerari. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Martindale. I live at 380 Mount Prospect Avenue. I'm the chair of the 380-402 Tenants Association, and I run the blog for NewarkTenantsUnited.org. I've lived in Newark for over 10 years. I support this inclusionary zoning ordinance. I also believe it's not far enough, but taking the first step is important. We do need development in Newark. We need the tax revenues to support and improve city services, and we need jobs. This inclusionary zoning ordinance should reduce opposition to development. One of the problems is that this ordinance doesn't have a mechanism to allow Newark to accept housing credits from suburban towns that would like to put them to Newark, and that's an area for future improvements. But actually, the greatest need for affordable housing is in the suburbs and the rural areas of New Jersey. And what's happening is because of the lack of affordable housing in those areas, people are coming to Newark, and that is essentially the cause of gentrification. So someone will come, like myself, coming from Bergen County, I come to Newark to have affordable housing, but my income is still higher than people in Newark. So this is happening. People coming from Jersey City, they're coming from Morris County, they're coming into Newark. So we really need a regional approach to affordable housing. There needs to be a tremendous focus on the whole North Jersey region, and I would like this city council to do whatever you can to help facilitate that through your political contacts, because this issue cannot be solved by Newark alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martindale. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Council. Joseph Delafave, Executive Director at Ironbound Community Corporation. Thanks for the opportunity to address this. I don't want to be redundant either. All that Rich said so eloquently, I certainly support. Certainly agree with some of the other comments that this may not be perfect, but could be more, could be strengthened to a more idealistic level, so to speak. But absolutely support the passage of this here today. This is part of the puzzle of how to address the future of Newark in terms of equity, a vision that includes all Newarkers who live here today, in the building of new housing where you have inclusivity, you have housing for people in Newark, and you have it at rent levels and income levels that are low, not extremely low. That's what public housing is for. And we need to protect public housing in order to protect the interests of very low-income people. But this does allow for a single person making $22,000 to $24,000 to have an affordable rent at 30% of their income. This allows for people across the board, families, to have affordable units up to 80% of AMI, but as low as 40 and even lower than that, according to the ordinance. It has been strengthened in a couple of different ways, which I would think that you're familiar with. But I think the most important thing again today is that this is a piece of the larger puzzle of addressing the needs of Newark people, keeping equity on the table in all discussions, and ensuring that as Newark moves forward, as new housing here is developed, that in fact it is developed not only for people who can afford the luxury market rates, but people here in Newark who can actually become part of that high quality housing which is being built. It is revolutionary in some ways, and in many other ways, as Rich said, it is quite standard. The 20% level, in fact, is above standard considering many other types of inclusionary ordinances. For a city that has no requirement, no COA requirement to build affordable housing, to in fact engage in this process is above and beyond what is called for legally, but not morally, not if we're in tune with the needs of the citizens of Newark. So I urge you to obviously support this, and I also urge you not to delay in the support of this. We have had this attached to some of the other ordinances that are on the table, and would love to see this passed even if others are deferred. I missed the previous vote on a tax abatement, and would like to thank you for that as well, because that ties tax abatements into affordability, into jobs for Newarkers, and into housing community development. So support that as well as the inclusionary. We urge you to vote and support this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delafave.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is James Powell. I'm a Central Ward resident. I'm also a member of Homes for All Newark, which is a Newark organization that advocates for Newark residents, and we advocate balanced growth. We're not against all development, and we also advocate citizen participation in the process. And I personally and we urge you to pass the inclusionary zoning ordinance. We feel the political process has been respected. It's been in front of the council for months. I think the time is now. The mayor supports it, and we ask that you be on the right side of history and return Newark to its leadership role nationwide in good housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
Or good afternoon. Sergio Rodriguez, Vice Chair, Plan Newark. I'm here to speak favorably for the inclusionary zoning ordinance of the City of Newark.
Did you state your address, sir? Did you state your address?
50 Park Place.
Thank you.
We are supporting your efforts to include people of a variety of income levels in the housing of the city. We strongly support this ongoing discussion. We support thinking about ways to make housing more affordable overall, both from a market perspective as well as by having the inclusion in the future development. Beyond, like some people have said, this ISO ordinance will only give us a few hundred families a benefit, and we're a city of many thousands, and we should look beyond the ISO. Partly, we should be looking at finding ways to not making our land artificially high, to not push up our land values too high, so that developers can affordably build housing for everyone at market rate, as well as through these inclusions. Right after this, we'll be discussing upzoning and upzoning could artificially increase the value of land and make it harder to have affordable housing at a market rate. And we should maybe consider finding a place to downzone so that we can have lots and lots of 3 to 5 story mixed-use development, which would be much cheaper to build than super high-rise luxury, and can include more of our people in affordable housing, both from a market perspective as well as through inclusion. But we support your efforts in having this discussion and being ahead of the game so that we don't fall behind like in some other places where there is not housing for people who work hard and can't stay close to their jobs. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dion McCutcheon. I'm just reading it, right off the top, and I don't see anything wrong with this. I don't see anything that would affect Newark in a negative way. Not one thing. And I didn't even get into the details. So if you, I definitely am in favor, but if I would love to see something that you can come up with that will make this not be something that's good for Newark. I would love to read it. That's all I have to say. I just want to see, because this sounds like a good thing to me. I'm just I grew up in Newark all my life. This sounds like an incredible thing. I would love to see what you come up with if you deny this. I would love to read it. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. McCutcheon. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Kate Slevin. I'm representing the Regional Plan Association. We're a regional organization that works to improve equity, affordability, economic opportunity in New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. And I'm here just to say we hope you pass the inclusionary housing proposal. We think it's absolutely paramount to creating a more equitable city and for future development in Newark. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Joseph Nardone. I live at 621 Market Street. I'm going to speak to the inclusionary zoning ordinance. I'm not going to rehash what other people have eloquently said, but I just want to make a point that beyond anything legal, there is also something which I learned when I went to Catholic school was Christian charity. And I see a lot of homeless people on the streets. And when I was in the Army, I volunteered as a chaplain's assistant, and I considered it quite hypocritical of many of the officers who sang like angels on Sunday and cussed like troopers on Monday. And I hope that the city council, who had a reverend lead a service before this council, listens to the Christian beliefs, and many people here do attend church, extend their Christian beliefs and their Christian charity to passing this affordable zoning. This goes beyond politics. This goes beyond money. You're helping people. And maybe the Newark City Council should consider the fact that this will help people protect the children, which don't get mentioned here, and protect the children who are members of these families who have trouble having affordable housing. So again, I just want to say, vote for this. It has my complete support, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nardone.
Council President, good afternoon. Carmelo Garcia, Acting Deputy Mayor and Director. The mayor wanted me to just echo his sentiments because he had a conflict and could not be here. So he just wanted me to remind the council of his commitment to protecting affordability in Newark, as well as that he had a very productive and effective meeting on Monday with the residents, and he will continue to champion this inclusionary zoning, and would ask that you guys make history with him in passing this today. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, seeing no one else.
Motion to close the public hearing and adopt. Council of the whole.
Council as a whole. Oh, are you good?
That's it.
Yeah, we need to.
Madam.
We need to adopt this and then
Okay.
council. Roll call, please.
Roll call.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jennifer Jenkins absent, McCallum.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes, absolutely.
Madam President, with every law that we pass, there's always room for improvement, and in conversation with some of my colleagues in the council and also members of the administration, I intend in the near future to introduce 2 or 3 amendments to this law. One of them in particular is, for example, the 10% that is dedicated to the ward where the project is taking place. If the residents of that particular ward and that particular community are going to go through the pain of the traffic, the pollution, the noise, and everything else, I think they should be compensated more than 10%. We can't be talking from both sides of our mouths. If we're trying to save Terrell homes, this is an opportunity for us to do that.
Madam
As
President,
Councilman
just quickly,
Ramos.
I want to commend Councilman Amador and his efforts related to inclusionary zoning. I had the opportunity last week to attend a meeting where he went over, a number of issues concerning inclusionary zoning. And look, I'm all for affordable housing development. I've actually funded a number of projects throughout the county of Essex that have been award-winning projects. My concern in this process is that, we don't want to create an environment in our city where development is going to be restricted in the hands of big developers who can afford to take, some of the affordability without attaching it to incentives. And we can't muscle out small and medium-sized developers in this process because they're going to be the ones that rebuild our neighborhoods. The Haynes projects of the world, the projects around NJ PAC, that represents an exception rather than the rule. So as we're in the process here of imposing some of these very good benchmarks as it relates to development, we have to keep in mind that in order for us to successfully rebuild our neighborhoods, we have to support small and medium-sized developers. And I look forward to supporting Councilman Amador's proposed amendments.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Next item is 6P SFC. It's an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Newark amending the City of Newark zoning ordinance. This is the creation of the MX3 zone, which will allow a blend of high-density residential and commercial uses. Does anyone wish to be heard on this ordinance?
To the microphone, Ms. Painter.
Are we kidding?
Good afternoon. My name is Nell Painter. I live at 60 Union Street. I used to live on Ridge Street. I have something very simple to say. First of all, congratulations on passing inclusionary zoning. I think that's important and a very good thing to do. I'm asking you to defer passage of this because those of us who are affected have only been hearing contradictory things about what this means. So we hear one thing one day, we get another mailing, and then it's superseded. Only on Monday did we get a clear presentation of what MX3 includes. Even so, we are still hearing some contradictory information. So I ask you to defer until the residents get a chance to find out what this really contains.
Thank you, Ms. Painter. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Serge Rodriguez, Vice Chair of Plan Newark, 50 Park Place. I'm here to oppose the upzoning of MX3 and to inform the council of the protest petition of the local homeowners in the impact zone, the required notice impact zone of the ordinance. A protest petition was submitted to the city clerk in 2 batches, one on September 20th and another yesterday. that has signatures of close to 50% of the homeowners in the affected area of the MX3, who have all almost unanimously opposed the upzoning of MX3 and have opposed the lack of transparency and the lack of community engagement in this process. We are still concerned about the lack of an answer from the city clerk or the council regarding the official protest petition that was filed that has legal ramifications and does restrict the council's ability to act on this without considering the protest petition. I highly encourage the council to act on the protest petition and to defer this vote and to delay the MX3 upzoning until after such time that there is a community engagement process where the community can be, where the wishes of the community can be incorporated into any change in the zoning as required in the state statute regarding changes to zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Lisa Parker, City of Newark. I don't congratulate you on the inclusionary zone because it's not inclusive of Newarkers. And so, as Amador referred to, there's ordinances already on the book that new development was supposed to give 3% of their occupancy to Newark residents in low income, and that didn't happen. I want to talk about the MX3. The MX3 should be deferred until there's a real community engagement and an impact study of the infrastructure, which your plans are for policing and all the density that's going to occur in that community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Next speaker. You have.
Good afternoon. President Crump and members of the council, my name is John Goldstein. I live at 171 Van Buren. I'm also a proud member of Homes for All Newark. There's no denying that development is coming to Newark, and it's coming fast. It's an opportunity we've all been waiting for, but the question before you today and for the next several years will be how Newark responds to the pressures applied by rapid development. I've worked on these issues in a lot of cities, including Seattle, Oakland, San Jose, Los Angeles, Denver, Detroit, Chicago, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Boston, and many more. In most cases, the outcomes are the same. A modernized downtown with good transit, bars and restaurants, new sports facilities, the Gap, Starbucks, and Whole Foods. In almost every one, there's a revitalized waterfront anchoring the redevelopment. With a very few exceptions, this new development replaces disinvested neighborhoods. Almost universally, poor people of color and immigrants are pushed out of the neighborhoods to make way for younger, wealthier, whiter residents. Detroit's a little bit different only because there was nobody living downtown in the redevelopment areas to displace. So we're facing a challenge. How do we develop Newark without displacing longtime residents and without wiping out our rich cultural history? I can't think of a city in the U.S. that has succeeded. But there are a few things. We have some opportunities that might help us be the first. The first is starting early. In most cities, they began implementing anti-displacement tools like inclusionary zoning and strong rent control after the displacement had already occurred. While some displacement is occurring here, we still have some viable neighborhoods that are worth saving. Second, we have to recognize that residents are important stakeholders in this process. In the MX3 process, residents were excluded from the planning, and quite frankly, developers were included and residents weren't, and that's a real problem. Residents in Newark, residents in every ward are educated and motivated to help find solutions. The council and the mayor need to ensure that residents are included in the process. Third, the city has to have a willingness to intervene. There is no free market. We have incentivized developers with tax abatements and variances for years. We can also, and we must intervene on behalf of the existing residents. Finally, we have to have a conscious plan to protect and preserve the cultural riches of our city. We're an old city with a lot of history. We need to protect the treasures that have not been erased. We can start here and now, defer MX3, or vote no if you vote on it.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Madalena Ribeiro. I am a resident of Newark. I live at 91 McWhorter Street. I don't have a formal speech. I'm just going to talk about my own experience in being a resident of Newark. Took me 30 years to buy a house in the Ironbound. I elect the Ironbound as my home. And my block is in this MX zoning, so I am very worried. What's the outcome? I'm going to ask you to look further, do more studies. Our schools is already crowded. I'm not going to repeat what everybody said. The immigrants is being pushed out. The people that I work and I see, they are being pushed out. They hardly can afford what we have right now. There is no hospitals. There is no emergency rooms right in the Ironbound. And quite frankly, to buy a good food supermarket, we don't have either. Something is wrong with the supermarkets in the Ironbound because we are forced to buy from Ciabras. That's another thing. So I'm asking you to plan a little harder, look at everything. Do you really need to bring all this building that close? We can't get out of the Ironbound. We need at least 1 hour before and 1 hour back to come back. Like me, there's a lot of people in Newark that work very hard to buy their first home, and now we are being trapped. And I'm very proud to have the opportunity to buy a house from a couple that is part of the Newark. That's Elvira Rodriguez and Daniel Rodriguez. They are part of the Portuguese community. They did a lot of work there. I'm asking you, please don't look down on us. We need you to help us to make our neighborhood continue growing, but in the right direction, not making just possible for some people to make money out of it. We have to live there, and I don't want to move someplace else. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
Manera El Boumani, a citizen of Newark, speaking to the MX3. The mayor already said during his presentation that he apologized for lack of community participation. So for that very reason, this zoning amendment should be held up until the community has participated in the process. We know that redevelopment and revitalization is happening in the city of Newark, and no one's against that. But what we've been against from day one since past administration is our seat at the table. So that's one reason why you should not vote on this today until the residents get a clear understanding on what the amendment is about, where of the locations they zone in, what part of, because some of the MX3 zoning is taking up open space. So that's another thing, another issue, because if you're taking up open space, some of that ordinance, I don't know if it's the MX3, but one of these ordinance covers open space. We spoke about it in the last meeting. Am I correct? Okay, so that's an issue in itself. And I think that's probably the next thing that's going to be voted on is the part where the open space is. It's all inclusive. But the fact of the matter that the community participation and we had lack of that. And then my question is that who are the developers? Are they lined up for this project? Are they lined up to take over these projects? If so, I mean, we should be also at the table with whoever you have lined up for these projects. And another thing, I'm trying to figure out, why did the administration who campaigned on building in the inner cities now shift their focus to high-rise and luxurious apartments? Because now the inner cities are being basically abandoned. There's no aggressive action being taken place against preservation of housing in the inner city, the abandoned housing and vacant lots in the city. So my thing is, why was the shift from inner city development towards these high-rise luxury apartments? Now, at one time, the city was tearing down high-rises, and now is about high-rises and building high-rises for luxurious people and wealthy people. So my whole thing is that one time they was tearing down housing. Now they're building housing, but they're building it for people who don't fit the income of the residents who live here.
Ms. Bomani,
So what about the housing needs of the individuals who live here, who got a plan, a proposed plan for the housing needs of the residents of the city? Where's the proposed plan? Can we sit at the table and draft one?
Has been respectful until you came to
First of all, you didn't even give me a chance to conclude. You send your repressive cops because you gave everybody here a chance to conclude.
I did, and I gave you the same.
But you first of all, you didn't tell me to close out.
Ms. Bomani, you don't have to show off for the rest of us.
The red light means you're up. They know that.
What's the point of that? What's the point of that?
You signed up today? Thank you very much. I apologize to the audience. Mr. Delafave.
Good afternoon again. Joseph Delafave, Executive Director, Ironbound Community Corporation, speaking on behalf of Ironbound Community Corporation. I think, as most of you know, many of us have been involved in planning with the city for a quarter of a century or more. And while we have been strong advocates for what we believe is in the best interest of the community, we have also at times been facilitators of compromises as well. This process obviously had not offered us the opportunity to either engage in a vision with you or even to facilitate any compromises. I certainly want to endorse many of the statements that have been made, especially John Goldstein's eloquent statements about how we move into the future and how we protect citizens who live here, from our low-income, people of color, and immigrant citizens or residents, and everybody else across the board. We had a meeting on Monday evening right here in these chambers with the mayor, and it really was the first time that many of us had an opportunity to engage in a civil conversation and discussion about this, as well as riverfront redevelopment plan zoning. And today you received, or yesterday, you received some recommendations, because the mayor had asked us to make some recommendations regarding this. And I bring these up because, it once again illustrates that people can make recommendations, can possibly move towards compromise, that there may be a middle ground for everybody, but we don't know that if we're not talking. And we just scratch our heads at the lack of discussion on these ordinances and the creation of a vision which is not the community's vision. So how do we move to a place where we can talk, we can see where the potential consensus and even compromises are, and do what we've done in the past, which is sitting down around a table, making a plan for both a community and a city that makes sense, understanding that the dynamics of today are different than they were yesterday, but nonetheless talking. So, as many others have said, we ask that you defer this, and as the mayor said, engage in more conversation, discussions, and try to move this together rather than apart. That is our best way forward for the city of Newark, together. And lastly, I just want to add that, we have been out in the community. We have had many meetings within the community ourselves. We have been canvassing, and it is overwhelmingly, from a community's perspective, that high rises are not the future of Ironbound. Now, there can be compromises, granted, but right now, it is overwhelming in terms of how people in the neighborhood feel about the imposition of this new zoning, and a vision which is not ours. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Bill Gifford. I live at 53-59 Clover Street. I think the people's main complaint is about the process, and I think just a case in point is, even this council meeting, it's on at 12:30 on a Wednesday. How undemocratic is that? I had to come here on my lunch break. I know this has been, these kind of meetings happen at 12:30 a lot, but just in terms of making it more democratic, how many more people would be here with concerns speaking to you if this was after 6 o'clock? I would say please defer. 3 years ago, an inclusive process gave birth to the master plan. It was essentially the people's plan as communities incorporated their vision into their future. The plan was made to prevent such aggressive developers from disfiguring our community. The bottom line is that the people participated in the process and so respected the outcome, the master plan. Do the same and respect the master plan. Another quick history lesson. In the early 1900s, when workers began fighting for their rights in Newark, capital and industry left us in the dust. Businesses found providing livable wages and safe working conditions to be too expensive and so left for cheap labor in the South and overseas. The exodus of jobs and opportunities started long before '68. Between 1950 and 1960, 250 manufacturers left our city. That investment killed our city, and now as the going is cheap, capital wants to come back in. Not only do they want to come back in, they want us to change the rules. Don't make a table for someone that wouldn't even let you in the front door. They need to participate, not dictate. And just speaking to Raz, who I voted for, I support him, but one of his explanations for supporting things like MX3 were that many more students, many more Newarkers are going to Rutgers, and so that these students need a place to live. I started off as Rutgers as an undergrad. I'm now a graduate student at Rutgers. That's what made me live here. I've lived in Newark for about 9 years, and I can tell you that to use Rutgers students to support displacement is just wrong. And I know as a student, I navigated my way to find these neighborhoods, to find places where I could fit in and support the local businesses, And I think to make exceptions, to make these variances, is wrong. We're rolling out the red carpet for capital, but not the people. And when where are these variances or tax breaks when the common Newarker wants to invest? And I don't think that we have that. Thank you.
Excuse me. Bring him back to the microphone, please. I didn't get his name. What's his name?
My name is Bill Gifford.
Yes. You made a comment that I cannot let go unaddressed. You said that how undemocratic of us to hold a meeting in the middle of the day. You were inconvenienced because you had to take off from your job. For your information, the decision to have an afternoon meeting was made by the people sitting out there. The recommendation came from about 5 or 6. We talked about it, the community talked about it, and that's why we have. It was not a mandate from this side of the podium, as you suggested, as though we were doing something illegal. So I just want you to know no, your time has expired. That we did not force this upon you. It was a recommendation. You're the first person in the last, 4 to 5 years who's ever had something negative to say. Thank you. Next speaker.
I'm just saying, make it more accessible.
Excuse me. And we have a night meeting.
Bump to the night meeting.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Anthony Diaz, 50 Columbia Street, representing Black Lives Matter Newark. I feel like the community participation has been pretty adamant and direct when there is community participation that we don't want this. We've been to zoning meetings, I've been to 5 councils, all different types of meetings about how this plan is not for Newark. And honestly, I feel like it's almost like a test run that if it happens in the East Ward, that it'll eventually move to the South Ward, because I know that PAF station is coming, and that PAF station is not for the residents of Newark. It's going to be for a transited, community. So we don't want this. We've been very clear on not wanting this, and we think the council should vote it down. My second point, and I brought this up to the council before, is that when you build properties like this, you're going to bring in a new community who's not going to want you guys to represent them. You guys know you have a history in Newark. When these people come in, they're going to want a council more reflective of them. You're not a council reflective of the community that is going to be incoming into Newark. So you need to understand that this is a self-preservation thing for you as well. The third thing, again, we got the petition for rent control. We fought for inclusionary zoning. If this passes by this council, we understand that you are the ones that have the power, and we understand that we will do everything in our power to vote you out. Because it's not right. We know what this is about, and it's not about for the city of Newark. It's not about progression. If you make that argument, it's completely false. It's a completely false argument, and we know that. So please vote no, so we don't have to keep coming to 12:30 meetings, 6 o'clock meetings, Monday meetings. Just end this right here, right now. It should have ended at the variance board, but no, now we have to continue this fight, and we don't want to. I'm tired. I know you're tired of hearing us. So vote no. Just vote it down. That's all I have to say.
Dion McCutcheon again.
Your address, sir.
Pardon?
You didn't state your address.
Right, I generally don't give that information out.
I'm sorry?
I live in Newark, New Jersey.
I know you do.
Can I start?
Yes.
Okay. Just reading the language. MX3 zone. That sounds like some type of, and given what happened in Las Vegas, I shouldn't even bring it up. That sounds like some type of device that's going to destroy. MX3 zone. The language doesn't even sound positive. Doesn't even sound positive. Now, the one prior to that, the ordinance prior to that, inclusionary. Come on, everybody, come on in. Include affordable housing, come on. I'm just even talking about the language of what's down here. That doesn't even sound like something that's positive. It sounds very destructive, like the Terminator or something. The language is messed up. And what's a high density residential? What does that mean? A high density residential. They're gonna put, instead of putting 40 people into a spot, they're gonna put 140. They're gonna make it more. I don't even know what that means. The language is wrong on this. It doesn't even sound friendly. It doesn't even sound like, hey, we're coming in to help the city grow and help the people that's already there develop and increase and do what they need to do to be productive. It sounds like we're gonna come in and we're gonna do what we wanna do and zurr. The language is even wrong. That's all I have to say.
Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity.
Could someone help her with the microphone, please?
All right. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Linda Rodriguez. I'm born, raised, and have lived in Newark consistently now after my studies since 1976. My home is at 92 McWhorter Street. I was at Monday's meeting, and a lot of meeting, as Mr. Delafave said, a lot of good ideas and interchanges came through that meeting. I'm here today simply to ask that you do not approve the MX3 plan as it is explained in what I call a non-document. I received an envelope postmarked the 23rd of September. I received this at home on the 25th. I can't even find my own house on these maps. There is no transparency even in the way you communicate with us. There is a mention here about a meeting that was held at the Portuguese Sport Club on the 18th of July. I was there, I spoke. That's all it was mentioned. There was a meeting, didn't say what the community asked for, didn't mention our concerns, didn't mention our support. And so I'm here to ask for time and for transparency in this, in dealing with the MX3 plan. And in your hearts, you've got to believe that we deserve better than this. We deserve a better explanation. I tried to explain to my 97-year-old neighbor what a brew pub was. She called me up and said, "What's a brew pub? And where's my, Linda, can you help me find my house?" She was born in that house 97 years ago. She deserves better. The only last thing I want to say, I mentioned this on Monday. For many years, I had long conversations with two of the most wonderful friends I've ever had in my life, Dr. Clem Price and Dr. Bob Curvin. I was lucky enough actually to work with Bob for many years at the New School. In the last, Clement wrote the foreword to the last master plan. And I'd just like to read a few sentences in his memory and in Bob Curvin's memory. They're not here to speak, but I want their voices to be heard. Clem said, quote, "For the most part of Newark's history, beneficent visions of the city future by local progressives competed poorly in a city that favored hasty decisions, that overburdened land use, neighborhoods, and a sense of place. As we turn our attention toward a strategically grounded approach to planning, economic and social development."
Your time has expired.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry Clem isn't here to finish it
So
off.
please come back and share those comments with us.
Oh,
when you
I
feel-
will.
I'm sure we'll hear from you.
Because I like being transparent.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay Arena, 35 Maiden Lane. I have a short comment and a question around the MX3 proposal. I think Munira made a very important point earlier about the city, that we've celebrated the demolition, the implosion of high-rises for poor people. We considered that a step forward for the city, part of the Renaissance, and yet when we're building high-rises for affluent, for the wealthy, we consider that part of the revival of the city. That says a lot of what's happening in Newark and around the country, and it does have significance for beyond the borders, but I know people don't want me to go there. But my question is around the recently just passed inclusionary, so-called inclusionary zoning ordinance, which I agree with the criticism was not strong enough. But the question is, and this is to the council or maybe the folks that worked with the mayor to fashion this bill, and as they say, the devil is in the details. So will this inclusionary zoning bill apply to the wealthy developers that are behind the construction of this MX3 project? And we know language is important. These wealthy developers have a whole army of lawyers to interpret, write this legislation in such a way that protects their profit. So I would just like if the council or someone could answer that question.
This is a public hearing. So complete your statement. I don't want to hear, you didn't give me my full, complete your statement, please.
The question,
well,
is the
this is a
inclusionary
public
zoning
hearing,
going to apply to the MX3 development?
This is not a question and order, question and answer, sorry. The rules apply to you as they do to everyone else.
Okay.
No one before you has asked questions. They understand this is a public hearing. We then take action with our vote. I thank you for coming.
Right.
You have a few more minutes.
Democracy requires an educated citizenry. And so to
agree.
make a decision on this vital public policy issue, I think it's incumbent upon this body to explain to the citizens here of Newark what is the impact of this recently passed inclusionary zone with this a very important decision about a high-rise here in the Ironbound. And it's obvious with this filled room, this is a big issue for the community.
Next speaker.
My name is Joseph Nardone. I live at 621 Market Street. We talked about the lack of input, and one of the things I wanted to talk about the MX3 lack of input is that I received information from the Institute for Transportation and Development Policy, which has an office in Lower Manhattan, and I will be attending a conference down there later this month in a week. One of the recommendations I would like to have participated in the MX3 is to make Newark a child-friendly city. We were told that it's great that these projects have been going on in Bayonne and other cities about a transportation hub. Well, it was not mentioned that the city of Changsha in China is becoming a child-friendly city, and there's nothing in the MX3 that has a child-friendly city planning board, which the city of Changsha won an award for having. They do improvements that make the city not only child-friendly, but people-friendly, such as they create wider areas around schools. Now, why can't we have wider areas around every building? They have refuge islands for children.
Mr. Nardone, my dear, 40 your friend, but you've got to speak to the ordinance.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
As somebody else.
This is, you don't consider this speaking to the ordinance?
No. To the purpose, the attorneys up here say, and I agree.
Well, no, I misunderstood. Okay,
That's okay.
I'll rephrase this. Okay.
Fine.
Speaking to the ordinance, and I thought this was part of, I was doing that. I just want to say, this is an ordinance that will have people burned out of their houses. I will ask the people now to say, where are they going to live after they're burned out, as what happened in Hoboken and was put forth in the book, Yuppies Invading My Dinner. So where will you live when you're burned out if this ordinance is passed? Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Mr. Mitchum, I think, didn't you speak already? Yeah. Sir, everyone is entitled to speak, but I see you're coming back. Repeats take away from the...
I'm adding, I'm making...
No, sir, not today. We have I think you're on the public list, so you'll have a third time to speak today, which is fine, but not on this particular ordinance. And so we're focused on that. Mr. Eric?
Eric Martindale, 380 Mount Prospect Avenue. I also oppose the MX3, and I think that this is bad planning. Half of the MX3, especially the southern blocks and where there's existing residential, should be a residential zone, but lower height and density. The other half of the MX3 closer to the train station should be set aside for office buildings with a ground level retail component, but no residential. And I say this because of the very immediate proximity to Newark Penn Station of those blocks. There's actually a shortfall of potential development sites in the downtown area for corporations that might want to build headquarters within superb walking distance to Newark Penn Station. Office is better for those few blocks. This way employees can commute by bus and train and not by automobile. Apartments will crowd the streets with cars and make overnight parking a disaster. Office buildings will not impact overnight street parking, so there'll be spots for residents. You're essentially wasting major job-creating development sites on residential use. So this proposed zone is bad planning. I think you should go back to the map and find better locations for high-rise residential housing in the city. I sent you guys an email, and certainly Broad Street south of City Hall, to me, that's where you should build. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martindale. Mr. Thomas?
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Leonard Thomas. I'm a resident of 22 Psalm Street in the Ironbound. Residential buildings over 5 stories represent colonization in our city. People who live there have no connection with our city. They have no loyalty to the community. They don't bring things that way. They come, they go to their homes, they lock themselves in, and then they leave. They don't include more jobs for us, except for maintenance jobs and things like that. In 1987, City of Newark used as its justification for blowing up high-density residencies as the problems that are caused by this high density. It said it caused people emotional and social problems, and it breed other types of unacceptable social activities. They didn't say that it changed if the people who come in have more money. It said that these high-density residences cause problems. Hasn't changed. We're following a failed concept. Places like New York City, Hoboken, Jersey City, you can name all of them. They built these high-density buildings, and now they find out that people won't move into them. They're moving out. They're moving to other places where they can have a more comfortable life, where they can still have access by transportation. So the people that will move here will be moving out just like they moved out in other places. And they will leave us with these hulks of buildings that will be useless to us. They will bring nothing more to us. We need to have intelligent design that fits our neighborhood, our city, that will benefit our city, that will bring more to our city, not people who will not be connected. The people that have stayed here for years and years are the ones who have helped to build our city, to make it stronger. We were here during the times of problems. We weathered those problems and worked to solve those problems. The people that we're bringing in now will have no concern about that. They'll be above those problems and above everybody else. They won't really give a damn what happens to the rest of the people here. These buildings will bring higher taxes because we all know it costs more money to build these higher buildings. It's not like they're just built higher and they're cheaper. They're more expensive. So that in itself will make the rents and the mortgages more because they will cost more. They're not going to be cheaper. It will not be an easy do. I'm looking at the buildings right now across the river in Harrison. The ones right by the river, which is the ones we're trying to mimic, it seems, are not being filled. And they're marketing to who? The same place we want to market to. The people in New York City that are paying so much money, they will be falling over themselves trying to get here. It's not happening. Please vote down this MX3. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I'm used to planning boards where you have to swear in. So
Not
I
here.
go there often. Drew Curtis, 142 Union Street in Newark. You've heard a lot of people speak already tonight, and if I believe everyone who spoke is not in favor of this ordinance. You've heard a lot of reasons why. I'm not going to go over all of those. Just want to reiterate that folks, current Newark residents, we are not against development. We just want to make sure that current residents are involved in the planning for any new development and that this development benefits current residents, does not displace us. And we ask that new development simply looks at the interests of people in Newark rather than profit. Let's combat inequities and inequalities. Let's not allow them to grow. So today, I hope you will defer action. If not, just vote no and send this back to the drawing board for more community participation. We had a great meeting on Monday night. I thank the mayor and the Department of Economic and Housing Development for hosting that. A lot of folks sent in proposed amendments and ideas. It was really great to have great civic participation. But we need more time for that to continue and to come up with something that's really great. So please defer this and come back to the table and join us for planning meetings. I hope all of you will join us at future meetings as we come up with something that works for everyone. MX3 today and also on the riverfront too, which I understand is being deferred until the special meeting next week. So please defer both of them. Let's defer them also to an evening session so working people can come up and provide public feedback as well. And lastly, defer this to fix some challenges, some legal challenges with this. I'm a renter, so I don't get property notice, even though I am very close to this zone. But I have friends and neighbors who are property owners, and there are some of them who have not received any legal notice. That's a deficiency and could lead to legal costs for the city of Newark. So let's just do this right. Let's allow public participation to ensure that any new development really benefits Newarkers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy Zach, 272 Walnut Street. I cannot tell you when I have felt worse standing in front of this council in a long, long time, because I am afraid for my neighborhood. Because we know what happens. We've watched Hoboken. We can see what is going to happen to us. I want to remind everybody that we started this on May 12th at the zoning board around a specific proposal for a specific building of 12-story heights. And now we had a planning board meeting where people said too high. We had a sports club meeting where people said too high. It went back to the planning board on July 24th, and there were changes made. We were not allowed to speak. No one could comment on any changes. I remember saying, let us speak at that meeting. We were prohibited from speaking that night. Now you have notices that have gone out that are inaccurate. The notice on the front page says 12 stories, but inside the notice it says up to 20 stories. So what is the real information? The notice is wrong. It has to be done over. I remember being in Newark when we were cleaning up toxic waste, when things were blowing up. And the mantra that they said to us then was, if you don't like being here, move, move. That was what was said to us then. And then we lived through a whole period where we were trying to save Riverbank Park, and we did. All the way to the White House that fight went. And when we looked around at the land going to developers in that period in time, City Hall's message to us was, we don't believe in planning. Let the market rule, they said. Let the market rule. And we got overcrowded schools, twice as many kids in classrooms. We got horrible traffic problems. We have no evacuation place. We have horrible air still, and we still have explosions, by the way. So here we are, and you're saying to people, the master plan that you all worked on doesn't count for a thing. You don't count. We're not going to listen to you. We're not going to pay attention to you. We worked on that plan. You are going to take it and throw it away, and you're setting a precedent that can apply to any part of the city where you can just throw away a plan that a community, the West Ward's just working on a plan, and you had a nice charrette just September 9th, I think it was. You just had a charrette on sustainability in Newark. Let's redo the 2013 plan. Well, where's the charrettes on this? Where's the zoning? Where is the community input on the zoning? I really feel disturbed by this. Please defer it or vote no.
Thank you.
Hello again, Richard Camerari. Just addressing the issue of the MX3. I wanted to support my fellow residents in their efforts and their pleas to the council to take a reasonable pause on this ordinance. It does, I think it deserves that. It deserves coming together to thoughtfully review it and come up with something that will be more comprehensive. I mean, I think like many of you have been around a long time, and the best projects we've seen in Newark, those who serve us the best, have always been the result of initially people butting heads, eventually people coming together and taking the time to come together with something that's thoughtful, that's comprehensive, and that serves the residents of our city. In this case, it appears to just be applicable to Ironbound, but it's not really. This is the kind of thing that spreads to all of us. So I think this is a thing that's important enough to take the time, defer it, have a task force come together, including all the stakeholders, whether they be thoughtful and that will ultimately be of use to the city as a whole. So at this point, it certainly doesn't seem like we have that in front of us. So I would support my fellow residents again in urging you to defer this for further deliberation and thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Jean Fortin. I live at 100 Alexander Street, and my view is from the other end of town. The more you upzone down Neck and around this downtown residentially, the more you drain my neighborhood. There are between 15 and 30 abandoned houses on my block. There are city-owned houses in my immediate neighborhood that should have been demolished 5 years ago. They're still standing with pieces falling off. There's commercial strips on South Orange Avenue. You overbuild down Neck, there's no incentive for somebody to build up those commercial strips. They remain the ugly eyesores that they are now. I cannot see how particularly council people at large or representing other wards would approve upsizing this floodplain area, whether it's immediately downtown or around the riverbank, and not recognize what effect that has on development in the rest of the city. You're not doing the rest of us a favor. You are, apart from not encouraging development in our outlying neighborhoods, you are actually causing a drain on our outlying neighborhoods because you will need increased police presence, increased firefighter, and how the heck are all those people going to get to the only hospital in town, which is on the other side of Mulberry Street? Thank you.
Councilman Amador. Yeah.
I think it's appropriate to indicate
that this process began in a different fashion, where originally it was basically imposed on us with 18 stories and with no step backs, no green space, nothing at all. And it has evolved over the time. I have a statement to make regarding this, and then I have some questions about the ordinance that comes up for MX2. For those of us who have been aware of the reasons why the Ironbound, particularly Penn Station and the riverfront, seem so attractive to outside investment, what's going on right now should not be a surprise. All you have to do is just look at other municipalities like Bayonne, Hoboken, Jersey City, Harrison, whatever, there's a train station. First and foremost, I'm proud to having represented the Ironbound in the City Council for the last 20 years. I'm also proud to live there and witness the changes that this particular community has gone through for the last 20 years. I'm particularly proud of the fact that I belong to a group of simple residents who decided over the last 20 years to stay, work, invest, and sacrifice so a community could be built. The fact that the Ironbound is located right by Penn Station helps a little bit too. What distinguishes the Ironbound and the upcoming development from, for example, what's going on in Harrison and other cities is that unlike in Harrison and other cities, whatever development occurs in the future will have the strong support of a strong and viable community, something that does not exist in Harrison, for example. And this is a community that was built with pain, hard work, sacrifice, even with blood and tears, as I said before. So we come to the point where we have to vote regarding zoning changes that will forever transform the landscape of our community and the city of Newark. One of the challenge is either to stay put, do nothing, or find a way where we transform this community and this city while creating job opportunities, increase the tax base, and give an opportunity for those who are responsible for the way the community has evolved over the years to stay in the community. Our position as elected officials with the responsibility to make the final decision is not an easy one. And regardless of how we vote, somebody will be happy and somebody will not support our position. I believe today, as I believed from the very beginning, that in the end, what matters mostly is to pay tribute to those who worked very hard to build the community by fighting to maintain its character while realizing that we had to accept some of the change. And I emphasize some of the change. That's why I proposed from the beginning the 100 feet setback on Ferry Street, the 100 feet setback on McWhorter and Union Street, and that's why I fought to have the two lots that are located by the river to be put back on the open space map. And that's why I proposed 12 stories instead of 18 by Penn Station in the very beginning. Again, our vote should reflect exactly how we feel regarding the future of this city. As elected officials, we cannot sit idle and allow other municipalities to shape their future while we do not provide those in need the employment opportunities associated with development. Smart growth calls for increased responsibility on the part of us and the developers. With major development occurring, we need to see what kind of impact it will have in the surrounding community in as far as infrastructure, schools, traffic, police, etc. We haven't done that yet. I was here Monday also, and I heard the mayor state that if you have any ideas, if you have any proposals, come forward and give it to us. So what I'm asking this council today is If we approve this plan the way it is right now, we will two things will happen in the future. We'll either regret it or we'll be happy, one way or the other. What I'm proposing is to defer this one more time and provide and have folks, organizations, whoever is involved, to send whatever recommendations are being made so we can look at them and incorporate them if necessary.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Madam Clerk, having no other comments regarding regarding this particular ordinance, Council as a whole.
Council President, before we take a vote, as one of the speakers correctly pointed out, there was a protest petition filed, which was supplemented yesterday. It was submitted pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-63. So if it is the recommendation of the clerk and myself, if the council takes action today to adopt, that it apply the two-thirds rule to the adoption.
Yes.
A motion to defer would not obviously require the two-thirds, but if there's a motion to adopt, the vote we recommend should be the two-thirds vote, which would be 6 yea votes in order to adopt.
Madam Clerk, I don't think I heard a second.
We read the...
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to make clear, because there was a comment. I did not want the public to think that we had not. So Council of the Whole to close the public meeting and adopt.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Amador?
No.
Alice? Yes.
James? Yes.
Absent McCallum?
Yes.
Osborne?
Yes.
Quintana?
Yes.
Ramos?
Yes.
President Crump?
Yes. For the viewing audience, this may appear to be a defeat for what you are proposing. Earlier, the council members and I, we were discussing, if there's an old expression, you have to walk a mile in someone's shoes to understand. Amendments are a part of this process. What does that mean for the vote taken today? While it has been confirmed, and I know that you are upset because I see many friends. However, as someone also said, you have to begin with the first step. We've got to do something. We cannot continue, nor should you require of us to continue. So this is not the end of the story. It is a chapter in the process. I look forward to Councilman Amador, the mayor, and all of the persons who are responsible for this particular ordinance, that we do what you have asked. And what you have asked is that we have community participation. Unfortunately, apparently, it was not a part of the entire process. But the main thing that you asked of us today was to at least respect those persons who are sitting in front of me and who are watching on television, to give you the courtesy of having as many meetings as are necessary. Councilman Amador.
Madam President, and to the audience, my recommendation to continue to talk to the community, talk to the different groups in the community and individuals, and get some ideas from the community in terms of improving this ordinance, we will continue. So what I would suggest is that let's open, keep the channels of communication open, because whatever amendments we need to introduce to this ordinance will take place. That much I can guarantee you.
Madam President?
Yes, Councilman Ramos.
Yeah, I just want to point out an inconsistency in the process, and I've heard chatter about whether or not this has been proposed by the city council or a council member. This rezoning plan came from the administration. It actually went to the planning board from them for approval. And when it came time for us to adopt an inclusionary zoning, we heard directly from the director of the Department of Development concerning their support for that particular initiative. But when it came time for this council to consider, this rezoning proposal, we didn't hear that. So I just want to point that as a matter of inconsistency. Both pieces of legislation came from the administration, not this body. This particular piece of legislation actually went through the planning board process as per their recommendation, and that's why this council was in a position to entertain it today.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item.
Next item is 6 PSFD. It's an ordinance amending the First Amendment to the Newark's River Public Access and Redevelopment Plan. This item has been advertised for the special meeting on October 11, 2017. Motion by Council of the Whole to defer to the special meeting of October 11, 2017.
Wait, before we go any further, if you read the ordinance, the language on the ordinance, my comments 2 weeks ago regarding the two lots,
yes, sir.
it indicates here that that's from it indicates here that it's from Jefferson Street, from Raymond Boulevard East and Jefferson Street, were the two lots that we identified as open space taken off this ordinance?
My recollection is that the ordinance was amended, and that I had thought that the title was amended as well, but we'll have to look at it to make sure that everything that we had discussed and considered was dealt with.
Since it's been deferred, we have time to take a look at it.
Yes, and we'll report back on that.
Council as a whole to defer.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Yes.
Callum,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Item 6 PSFE is the refunding bond ordinance providing for the payment of amounts owing to others for taxes levied in and by the City of Newark, appropriating $10,800,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of bonds or notes for the financing of the cost thereof. Does anyone wish to be heard on this ordinance?
No one appearing, Madam
Motion
Clerk.
to close the public hearing and adopt. Council of the Whole.
Roll call, please.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McCallum,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
6 PSFF is an ordinance to amend and supplement Title II, Administration, Chapter 7, Department of Finance. This is amending the qualifications and duties of the city treasurer. This was also published for the public hearing to be held on October 11th. Motion by Council of the Whole to defer to the special meeting of October 11th.
Roll call to defer.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McCallum,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
Resolutions, 7R1A.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to be recorded.
Councilman, I forgot, my bad.
I'd like to be recorded as a yes on 6P SFA.
A.
Yeah, the first one in the ordinance.
Yes, Councilman. Item 7R1A is an authorizing resolution from the Department of Administration, Division of Central Purchasing, authorizing the use of a state contract for video teleconferencing equipment and services. Item 7R1B is a ratifying authorizing resolution from the Department of Administration, Office of the Business Administrator, accepting a donation gift from the Prudential Insurance Company. Item Council of the Whole to adopt 7R1A through B.
Roll call, please.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McCallum,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
7R5A is a ratifying authorizing resolution from the Department of Health and Community Wellness approving an application acceptance of funds. This is the Ryan White HIV/AIDS grant for the city of Newark. The grant amount is $7,079,918. Motion by Council of the Whole to adopt.
Roll call, please.
Amador,
Absolutely.
Gonzalez,
Yes, absolutely what? Yes or
Yes.
yes. Callum,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
President Crump.
Yes.
Madam President?
Yes, Councilman.
Just a comment on this one. It's been on the preparing stage for a long time. This is Hayes Park East, and I was there this morning around 9 o'clock, and it's beginning to look very nice. So I don't have any problem in extending the period so they can finish next year.
Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Excuse me, thank you, Councilman. I inversed the order here. I did indeed. 7R3A is an authorizing and amending resolution. No, we did not. I did the grant. I did 7R5A.
You did 5A and not 3A.
I did.
I don't have to repeat my comment again, huh?
In the official language, my bad. Item 7R3A is an authorizing amending resolution for the Department of Engineering, approving a change order amending resolution for Z-Tech Contracting LLC. This relates to the Hayes Park East improvements. Council,
As a whole?
Council
or
of the
do you
Whole
want
to adopt.
sponsor?
Sponsor it.
Sponsor it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Gonzalez.
Amador Gonzalez. Roll call to adopt.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James. Yes. McCallum.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
President Crump.
Yes.
Item 7R8A are various recognizing and commending resolutions with the noted sponsors. Item 7R8B are various expressions of profound sorrow and regret. Council of the Whole to adopt the noted sponsors. Roll call.
Amador.
Thank you.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
James. Yes. McCallum.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
President Crump.
Yes.
We have added starters on the blue sheets. Resolution 7R1C is an authorizing resolution for the Department of Administration, Office of the Business Administrator, authorizing a competitive contracting contract for the operation and management services for the Municipal Television Studio. The vendor is Edward Joseph Colonna Productions, Inc. Council of the
as a
Whole.
whole.
Council of the Whole to adopt. Roll call.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Yes. McCallum.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
President Crump.
Yes.
Item 7R7A is an authorizing resolution from the Office of the Mayor. This is declaring that the second Monday in October be Indigenous Peoples' Day and replacing Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples' Day. Motion by Council of the Whole to adopt.
Council as a whole.
Roll call.
Amador,
Abstain.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Yes. McCallum,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos,
Abstain.
President Crump.
Abstain.
Do we have a definition of indigenous?
Yeah, that's what.
Do we have what?
A definition of indigenous regarding this?
So that means that means the Indians. That's the indigenous people.
Native American.
Madam President. Madam President. Could I just make a quick
Yes.
statement? And let me just, and again, the mayor's office proposed this as an added starter. You know, I have no issue, especially in light of, you know, a lot of the criticism that has been rightfully connected to the celebration of Columbus Day. We even got a call from the Italian Tribune the other day. They're trying to secure the Christopher Columbus statue, which is on Bloomfield Avenue. But I think historically in the city of Newark, you know, the Columbus Day celebration is associated with the celebration of the Italian American community in our city. So if we are going to, in fact, declare Columbus Day as Indigenous Peoples' Day, I have no issue with that, but I think at the same time, we have an obligation as a city that celebrates our diversity and history to also recognize the Italian-American community as well. So I would ask the clerk's office through your chair to ensure that we have an opportunity, probably at the next council meeting, to make that a declaration as well.
I'd like to.
Councilman
I
McCallum.
will change my vote to an abstention.
To an abstention. Yeah, me too. I don't have enough information about it, and I don't know what they mean by indigenous people.
And I will not claim
The
that
Indians
Columbus
are
was
indigenous.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
So, Madam Clerk, to the council, those who wish
A
to
motion
change
to
their
reconsider?
vote.
All right,
A motion to reconsider by council of the whole.
Yeah.
There's no need to reconsider.
I am just changing my vote to
He's just
an
changing his
abstention.
vote.
If I may, if I can just give some details.
Corp Counsel, if you can.
Can you list us?
We have
Yes.
2 requests to
No,
change
3,
their
me
vote.
too.
We haven't gone to the next
Okay,
item.
so the individuals are changing their vote.
I am
Councilmember
changing to
Gonzalez.
abstention.
Abstention, Councilmember Osborne, Councilmember Quintana. The
And me-
resolution
and-
fails.
And me too, as an abstention.
And
To the
McCallum.
Corp Counsel, what the chair is, shh, please, thank you. What the chair is requesting is that there be information disseminated. Excuse me. Through your office,
Yes.
if you will get us more information. The only thing that I read was a newspaper article. So without debating the issue, I think it's clear that the council is just asking for more information.
We'll request that information from the mayor's office.
Sure, Judge.
Next item.
Back to the agenda, page 13, communications. Item 8A is an ordinance granting a 5-year tax abatement to Nicholas Papadakis, for the residential property located at 151 through 153 Bel Air Place. Yes, a 5-year tax abatement. Motion by council of the whole to adopt.
Roll call. Councilman, you don't want to
Excuse me, this
sponsor?
is, are we
It's a
moving?
5-year abatement. We haven't seen one in years.
We haven't, when was the last time?
Excuse me, I'm moving to first reading.
Can we adopt
Or
on first?
Yes, we can move and adopt on first.
Yes.
Council
Roll
of the
call
whole.
to do that.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've seen a 5-year tax abatement in
Gonzalez is
years.
moving.
Yes.
So, Mr. Cologne, what did
Second.
you do?
Who's the
Second.
second? Second?
We have a second for moving.
Yes.
I think this was
We
the
did.
reason why this is on. This was a correction that had to be made where the person that purchased that property had not been
Yeah.
extended the 5-year abatement. That's probably the only reason it's showing up on the agenda, so.
Do we have a second?
A second for advancing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Ramos. Roll call.
Move it in advance to first.
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Yes.
McCallum,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes. Next item.
This item is 6FA. Next ordinance is 8B. It's an ordinance of the City of Newark authorizing the acquisition by purchase or condemnation of an easement on a portion of the real property located at 6874 Commercial Street, 762 through 82 Commercial Street, and 943 through 965 Raymond Boulevard. Motion by council of the whole to move to first reading.
The first. Roll call.
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McCallum,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
Madam President.
Yes, Councilman Gonzalez.
It's Madam Clerk, when is it going to be advertised, the one that we moved to?
I'm going to say that now. Actually, we do have one more item on communication, so
Okay.
let's do that
Right.
first. See,
Did we not do?
item 8C is a authorizing resolution from the Office of the Mayor appointing Madeline Ruiz to the Public Arts Advisory Commission. Motion by Council of the Whole to confirm.
Roll call, please.
Amador.
Oh.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McCallum.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
Back to the blue sheet. On page 2, item 8D, on communication from the business administrator, an ordinance amending an original ordinance, 6 PSFB, April 30, 2012, a tax abatement granted to Somerset Brownstones Urban Renewal Associates, LLC, pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law, to change the annual service charge from 6.28% of annual gross revenue to 5% of annual gross revenue for an affordable housing project,
Right.
including but not limited to the construction of 4 three-story brownstone-style townhomes containing a total of approximately 60 rental housing units located at 25 through 49 Somerset Street and identified at the city's tax maps as Block 2556, Lot 1.02.
Mr. Cologne,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cheneyfield Jenkins has sent word to the council that she would like to have this advance moved and,
Yes.
Advance the first reading?
Yeah,
Yes.
Madam President, I just want to
So-
know
so we don't-
why are we decreasing the revenue to the city from 6.28 to 5%?
Councilman, this is one of the projects that were part of the submission for the low-income housing tax credits. They came in a little late, if you recall. We had done about 5 in the beginning. They are actually one of the entities that were funded, them and as long as also City Hall Apartments, the one that's going to build across the street.
Across the street?
Right. The other ones would be null and void now. So this is the only other one. We got 2 low-income housing tax credit projects funded, and this is one of them. So
And
as part of the condition,
they require a 5%?
the 5% to be able to get the 5 points, right. So
Okay.
that's what this is.
Okay, okay.
Job, Julio.
Motion by Council of the Whole to advance and adopt on first as 6FB. Roll call.
Amador.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Yes.
McCallum.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Quintana.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Absent. The ordinances adopted today on first reading will be advertised in accordance with law, and a public hearing will be held at the regular meeting on October 19th at 6:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as practical here in the council chamber. That's it. Yes. Now's the time for the hearing of citizens.
Okay.
6:30.
Welcome to the Municipal Council's hearing of citizens. Only those individuals who have signed up today to speak by the closing deadline will be permitted to speak this afternoon. When your name is called, please step to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. You will be given 5 minutes to speak. On the podium, you will see a small timing device. When you begin to speak, it will count down the time and the green dome will light up. After your 4th minute, the yellow dome will light up, indicating that you have 1 minute remaining for a summation. When you reach your 5th minute, the red dome will light up and an audible sound will begin indicating that your time has expired. Please look forward speaking to the microphone. We're recording these proceedings, and if you turn to speak to the audience, we may miss part of your statement. Please address all questions to the chair and not to individual council members. The first speaker is Michael D. James. Appearing.
These are for.
No.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Michael James. I'm from 55 New Street, Newark, New Jersey, between Washington and Halsey. Council President and the rest of the remaining councilmen, I'm here to talk about something I spoke about, I guess, a couple of weeks ago at a special council meeting. As many important things have been talked about today, I began to feel a little like not bringing this cause, because this is a relatively personal cause, but it's still important to me and my neighbors. I have a written presentation I'd like to read from, and you have that presentation as well. It says, after years of petitions, letters, and emails, and calls It is about time to stop the most farcical, incredulous, ridiculous situation of issuing permits of Halsey Street business entities and others who are not bona fide residents of New Street and allowing them to park here. Just incidentally, we have 13 spaces on New Street on one side of the street for the entire block, and our block has a lot of residents on it. It's fully occupied and always is. At least 50 Halsey Street business permits have been issued in 2017. That is, of course, for not less than 5 permits per business. That's 50 permits. There aren't 50 free parking spaces in all of downtown Newark, and you can extend that to the East Ward as well. So where are those people supposed to park at? They're just not supposed to be parking on resident permit parking on New Street. And we have businesses on New Street who also do not qualify as bona fide residents, but Halsey Street permit parkers, business permit parkers get to park on our street, but not the business owners who own and operate businesses on our street. And I'm not advocating that they be given permits, but if Halsey Street guys are entitled to a permit, they're entitled to a permit. And it should be a permit, not 5. Okay. The ordinance states that they are to park between Halsey and Broad Street. It also states that vehicles with permits are exempt from limitations and parking at parking meter fees. Of course, both these parts of the ordinance, as written by someone and approved by this city council, are ignored by the parking department. They do not allow them to be parked at meters without being ticketed, and they're not forcing the people to park where they're supposed to park by ordinance. They allow them to come to New Street, which is not appropriate. As well as, we do believe that we should be extending the courtesy to commercial vehicles that come occasionally, but they will allow a fellow with commercial vehicle on his plate, commercial plates on his vehicle, to park on New Street all day and go to work at the Haynes Building, go to work at somebody's business on Halsey Street. That's not right. It's got a commercial plate, and it's got a business, let them pay to park like everybody else. Okay, so that's a big problem we're having with the parking division also. It is virtually impossible to differentiate Halsey Street permits from New Street resident permits. What is even more ridiculous is that it states New Street business. Now, this is the permit that's being issued to Halsey Street business owners, the full length of Halsey Street from Central Avenue to Warren. Okay. They could be differentiated by color. There doesn't need to be an expensive change, but it's just out of, I think, out of laziness that they won't differentiate the permit. And then when they did make a permit for Halsey Street businesses, it's written in very tiny letters that you can't read from the street when the car is closed, that it says they're supposed to be parking on New between Broad and Halsey, not on New between Broad and Washington. Now, don't forget, this block that we live on is adjacent to the Rutgers campus. So not only do we have a problem with people from Rutgers campus parking, but then we have all the police, anybody that comes. The other day, a girl with a certificate in her window that said on mayor's special business or something. She got out of her car and went to law school. When I spoke to her about it, she told me, ticket it if we want. It's the ability to disregard the rule and not face any real punishment that people continue to cause this problem. Now, I've been on New Street. I've been in Newark all my life, 65 years. I've been on New Street for 30 years. The renovations and development that's happening down there, that's why I went there. I thought I was the beginning of it. It's coming now. Okay, bona fide New Street residents must present proper documents as per the ordinance to demonstrate their eligibility to acquire a parking permit, and are denied when they do not meet the requirements. New Street business owners do not meet the ordinance requirements and must pay to park as well. My time's up. I'm going to stop. The rest of it is written. You can see. Thank you. Please help us out.
Thank you very much. Councilman Ramos first, Councilman Gonzalez.
I want to thank you, Mr. James, and I would ask that his comments be memorialized in the absence of our Central Ward Councilwoman, so she can become aware of some of the issues going on New Street. But I just want to address the parking authority. these very aggressive ticketing policy that they have. They're in the middle of residential neighborhoods these days. The other night at 8:30 in the evening, they're ticketing cars because they're parked too close to a particular intersection. They're harassing teachers in our overcrowded schools throughout the city of Newark, and I think we need to have a sit down with them and the police department just to figure out what are the parameters. You bring up a great issue about commercial vehicles. We have neighborhoods in my ward and throughout the city of Newark where commercial vehicles are parked not only during the day but overnight, and those should be easy targets for ticketing. Instead of harassing our residential neighbors, and for an entity that originally was given the responsibility to enforce parking regulations in business corridors, and that has now expanded tremendously. They're on Mount Prospect Avenue, they're on Summer Avenue, they're on Broadway, in the middle residential neighborhoods, well into the evening, and a $42 ticket is nothing to sneeze at, especially when you're getting fined week after week. And we really need to have a sit down through your chair, not only with Mr. Mack, who's the director there at the Parking Authority, but we need to bring the police department in as well, because they seem to be doing the same things as far as parking enforcement.
Councilman Gonzalez, followed by
Mike,
Councilman
thank you
McCollum.
very much. Mike and I were neighbors. I lived at Halsey Street, and actually in New Street. I lived for 2 years close to Mike's business, and I can attest to the limitation of parking in that street. That's a very short street. We have maybe 10 to 15 parking spaces there, and if we allow people going to Rutgers, people going to the businesses that are now Prudential, we are limiting the ability of the residents there that have parking for 24 hours, as the ordinance indicates. They cannot park there. So I believe that there's something that we have to address, something that, as mentioned by Councilman Ramos, I believe is a matter of discussing with the parking authority so that these individuals that have parking permits can park in the designated parking area.
If I may.
Mr. James, I can imagine your frustration.
No, you can't.
I empathize with you. Since we're talking about the parking authority, something became aware to me the other day. I pulled up on William Street and Broad, and the guy was arguing with one of the parking authority attendants, and she had given him a ticket. I didn't realize that the application that you can go on and pay sometimes is not working and doesn't coordinate with the information that the attendant has. So the attendant didn't want to look at the app and see that the guy actually had an hour and 35 minutes left, but she gave him the ticket. So he happened to recognize me and then got me involved, but I just told them that I was going to request that we meet with the director of the parking authority, because that's unacceptable to be giving residents tickets that they're going to have to go to court with when you can see that the applications, they still have time on their meter. And so he was really ticked off with the young lady. And so I got a supervisor to come there. But moving forward, we need to have Anthony Mack. And I actually saw him the other day. I told him we're going to invite him here. He needs to explain that, because that app is off. They say it's off all over the country. I didn't realize there was a countrywide application that they use, that it's always off.
Thank you, Mr. James, for, number one, coming back and reminding us of our responsibility in this process. Like Councilman Gonzalez mentioned, I can't imagine what it's like to try and park on that little tiny street competing with the businesses. That while we're happy that Halsey Street is the new, one of the upscale areas in the city, we can't park. So if you don't mind, I'm going to tag something onto your request of the parking authority and the city as well. And that is by the train station in the North Ward. People come there, park their cars, stay there all day. The seniors call our offices and complain. They come, they park all day. They should be ticketed. There should be a process. So if you don't mind, to Madam Clerk,
Yes.
to all of the appropriate authorities, and give any one of us that you choose a call no later than next Wednesday to find out if we've done anything.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have my next speaker, please.
Abdul Alim Razik.
Not appearing.
Anthony D'Angelo.
Appearing.
Good afternoon, City Council.
Good afternoon.
I'm Anthony D'Angelo from Tony's Service Center at 267 16th Avenue across from West Side Park. We're in business over 60 years, family-owned and operated business. And it ran on some hard times as I've been to President Council Mildred's office about several months ago. My father took sick several years ago. I was his primary care provider. I did not know, being that I had the tanks tested every 3 years as you're supposed to, if they're not being used over a year, they have to be removed. As of today, the tanks were tested like 4 months ago. They're still good. They still have 3 years left of the warranty on the tanks, okay? And the tanks, the pipes, everything's tested good. The state hit me with a $50,000 fine. Put a judgment on me. I can't buy nothing. I have to remove the tanks. I went several months ago to my dear friend and my father's dear friend, Mildred Crump. She's like an aunt to me. And I told her my situation of getting some kind of tax amnesty, tax relief, or something, some type of help. Well, I never heard back from the city. I asked to speak to the mayor. I asked Mildred. When I speak to Mildred, she's better than family because I don't even speak to most of my family, okay? Same thing with John and his father. Matter of fact, I yelled at your father the other day. He was on the cell phone on Irvington on Springfield Avenue.
And driving.
Yeah, he was driving. I says, put down that phone down, Sharp. I'm giving you a ticket. He dropped it. He looked at me. He started laughing. We're all family. I love this city. I love the people in it, okay? But we're running through economic hard times. I had nowhere to turn to. I went to Kim Giordano, the lieutenant governor, with the DEP, had a meeting with them. Her office is helping me, trying to resolve, suppress these fines or whatever. She said, Anthony, I can't do just for you. I'm going to try to do for the whole state. Cut the taxes. Wow. And also with the tolls and so forth. She says, but that's an issue you're going to have to try to work out with the city of Newark. So I come to you. I'm born in this city, raised in this city. When Mildred first started, we were the first sign to put in her window, okay? My father loved her. I love your father, Johnny. And I'm looking for some type of financial help, all right? I'm not looking for a freebie, but now we can't pump gas no longer. I'm still paying high taxes. And I told them, I says to the state, if I can't pump gas, you can't let me get a loan, I might as well walk away from the property. I said to Mildred, we don't want the gas station. Look in the city. She brought it to my attention. I drove through the city of Newark. I did not know this. Not one gas station. You cannot sell the station. They will not. You can't give it away. So if I walk away from the station, the city doesn't make the money. The state don't make the money. Okay. I'm trying to resolve this. I don't want to go nowhere, but my hands are tied. I can't borrow money. They won't let. I had somebody that wants to rent the station because the tanks are tested good, the pipes, and they still got 3 more years left on the warranty. It's not, as I get older, nothing makes sense to me no more. They're not old tanks. But my first thing that comes is my father. I had to take care of my dad, okay? I put everything to the side, and that's where I stand. But the state is helping me. Is trying to best. Kim Giordano is trying to help me as much as possible, and she sends me emails, her staff, and so forth. I like to know where the city can help me. I have no revenue coming in from the gas station. The state will not give me money to will not allow me to register the tanks, to rent out the pumps. So I'd like to know, maybe I come back another time and help resolve this or do something with a tax amnesty or something. I don't know. This is where you folks come in.
We're going to have to talk right after this meeting, because the issue right now is really the state. The state's restricting you from doing anything, and they're the ones putting a $50,000 lien on.
Well, the state is working with me to suppress those fines or whatever. But now, I mean, as far as I'm paying high taxes, which I haven't paid, because I can't rent the property, I can't pump gas to pay the taxes. All right, I'm between a rock and a hard place.
I got you, but the state is the one putting the lien and the fines on you. So if they're really helping you, they need to work out some kind of payment plan.
Well, they are.
Or give you more time to operate so you can raise revenue.
So, Anthony, can you remain, we're not going to be too long.
Okay.
And John and I will talk with you about some solutions.
Thank you.
It's long overdue. You know, I did pass the information on.
Yes.
Not blaming anyone else but myself for not following up until I saw you today.
I know we all have a very busy life.
Yeah.
I'll stay
So
here.
if
and
you'll
I'll
stay
talk to
for
you.
a few minutes.
Thank you so much, folks.
Next speaker,
Sheila Montague.
not appearing.
Andrea Mason.
Andrea Mason, not appearing.
Tiffany Huertas.
Not appearing.
Dion McCutcheon.
Did he stay?
Yes.
Oh, there he is.
Before I start, I just want to make sure that I heard you clearly.
I'm sorry, Mr. Richard.
Before I begin, I want to make sure that I heard you clearly with instructions. Did you say that all questions are only directed to you?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
I thought somebody said that all questions are directed to you. You can't ask questions to the council members. Did I hear that correctly?
That is the rule, but sometimes we loosely apply it. It depends on, you know, the kind of question and any other factors. So please feel free to start.
Sure.
You have 5 minutes.
My man. Okay. I'm ready now. I've come to the conclusion that the format for these proceedings are backward. We can all agree that these hearings of citizens meetings, that we, the public, come to the podium for you, the city council, to hear our concerns. Yet, as I stated in my opening, this is terribly backward. We need to hear from you and what you're doing for your wards regarding crime, education, the economy, social issues, housing, parenting concerns, children concerns, etc. Because I don't know, I have no idea whether any of you have any competent public speaking skills, press conference skills where you have to answer questions on the spot, or simply to be able to dialogue in an intelligent, coherent, educated manner. I have no idea what you can do. And if I ask you a question off the spot, if you're capable of answering it, I need to hear from you, right? You're the ones that are in office, correct? I need to find out what you are doing for the city of Newark to see whether or not I plan to vote for you again, because I voted for all of you the first time.
Thank you.
Okay. That being said, Councilman at Large Osborne, who left, I need to speak to, North Ward Councilman. Within the last month, what have you accomplished for the betterment of your ward regarding its social issue, crime, housing, education, the economy? In fact, the question is for all of you. All of you, please tell the citizens of Newark that put you in those chairs and are paying your salaries, What have you done for each of your wards? Anyone could start.
So, Mr. Clerk, Mr. McCutcheon has made a request. He read off his question. What have any of us done to better our wards? And that includes the at-larges. If you will reach out to Mr. McCutcheon and get...
No, I'm asking this on the spot. I want to see whether or not you are capable, right? You're public representatives, correct? If you are capable of answering a question on the spot, not having 2 days or having 2 weeks to research the question, North Ward Councilman, I'm going to ask you again.
So, no.
Within the last month, what have you accomplished for the betterment of your ward regarding a social issue, crime, housing, education, the economy, or et cetera? Within the last month. I didn't say last week. Last month.
Mr. McCutcheon, I'm going to try this one more time. You send us the question, we'll send you the answer. Nobody is avoiding your question.
We need to hear
I
from
have
you.
something for you. I listened to you. I didn't interrupt you. I have something for you. You said you have no idea what's going on. We have a minimum of 5 to 6 community meetings every week. Many of them are packed out. I was just at one in the East Ward. It was so, because people were anxious for information. So they go to the community meetings. Do you go to the community meetings?
Where's the information?
Okay.
Where's the information being posted?
So what we can do, we'll put you on the mailing list and we will send you information when meetings are being held. Councilman, it's your call. If you want to answer the one question, breaking protocol.
Let me just state that, Dion and I actually went to school together, so I know him well. And I do have an open door policy. A lot of people that are in attendance here have had an opportunity to sit down and talk, which I extend to you. And I do suggest with election season coming around that they consider Dion to be part of the debate panels to ask questions to prospective candidates that are considering a run for city office.
That was inappropriate, in my opinion. And in any event, I would just like to see whether or not, like he said, we went to school together. We went to Rutgers together. So I know he knows me, and plus we've dealt on some issues concerning Essex County.
Yes.
So he fairly knows how I roll. But I would like to see you guys say, listen, in my county, this is in my ward, I went to the school and I explained to kids how to not get involved in crime and how to become successful. Or I got some money raised and I got some computers put in a grammar school, 10 computers, Apples, put in the school system, something. Oh, I got a traffic light fixed in my ward. Oh, the street was damaged, and I was the one that facilitated the street getting clean. I don't hear any of that from any of you. I'm trying to figure this out. You want to hear what I have to say. I want to hear what you have to say and what you have done.
I'm a great believer, and they mistakenly gave you 5 more minutes. I'm a great believer that actions speak louder than words. You pick the day, you pick the hour, I will pick you up, and I will drive you and give you a sense of what I do as a councilwoman at large. I offer that to you. I've done it in the past.
That's not a problem at all.
Let's do it.
On the same note, or the same lane, I gave you, which I don't give out, I gave you my phone number and my email address. I think it was right in front of the mayor's office and you never contacted me. So how can I take?
Your time has expired.
So how can I take what you're telling me now as to be
McCutcheon,
something that I should take seriously?
Because I'm telling you now, you're not catching me on the run, which is what happened the other day. So
No, you
I
asked for it. I said, I
apologize
don't give
to
it
you.
out. You said, no, I want it. I said, I don't
apologize
give it
to
out. I
you.
said, okay,
But
fine.
Your time has expired. Take
I have
this.
106.
No, you don't. Officer, help Mr. McCutcheon.
It says 102. Are you her representative? You're her lawyer?
Please,
In any event, I would like to start hearing what you guys are doing for the city.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I got 40.
Next speaker, his
Madam
time has
President,
expired.
can I answer?
No.
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 Arnita Green.
Where do I hand this?
Arnita Green,
I didn't see her.
Where do I hand this?
Give it to
not appearing.
somebody in the clerk's office.
Next speaker,
Arnita Green.
Where else would it go?
she's not appearing.
Dawn Haynes.
So that they can read it.
Michelle.
Don Haynes, not appearing.
Michelle Trevian.
Trevelyan,
Excuse me.
not appear. I think her problem was solved by the councilwoman.
Lisa Parker.
Lisa Parker, resident in Newark. Let me put one knee down in solidarity for Colin Kaepernick and the injustices in our country, and more importantly, the social injustice that's going on here in Newark. Newarkers, it is time to reclaim your city, your governance, and your democracy. We need to bring the order back to council chambers. The public forum should not be a place for people to voice their concerns. Instead, we have the mayor co-opting this chamber with his agenda or the corporation's agenda. This past Monday, the administration posted a flyer for a community meeting on Facebook. This is not community engagement. This is window dressing. If you want to engage the community, you need to send out mass flyers like he did to the whole entire city to pass the inclusionary zone. The mayor is in violation of the Hatch Law, the Hatch Act, by mandating staff to attend press conferences and events promoting his campaign. Where's the representatives from the union? As a taxpayer, why are staff members signed up to speak during the day meetings at the hearing of citizens? This is what you call in the union theft of time. My taxes pay their salary. Why are they here in the chambers instead of being at their desks working? Why are staff mandated not to sit or stand around City Hall on their own time, breaks and lunch? That is a violation of contract language. Where's the union to protect the rights of the workers? Elected officials are in office to uphold the law and represent public interests. Inclusionary zone does not represent low-income families. There is no plan for low-income housing, and Councilman Osborne, for the record, you sit on the Housing Commission, and the last meeting you had on that commission was in 2014, yet you voted in favor to demolish Terrell homes. Do any of you have a plan for housing the families that are displaced? When this regime is over, and it will be over, I ask the mayor's posse and Newarkers, where will you work? Where will you live, and who will represent your interests? Corporations have the money to pay for representation. We just have our votes, and we're going to use it in 2018 for change. Now, the last time we was here in this council chambers, in the last 4 meetings at the night meetings, we had a disruption by the mayor. If you are the legislative body and he is the executive branch, there should be some separation of neutrality and impartialness towards the people that come here to pay your salaries. Excuse me, Amador, because you allowed, as the president, at our last meeting, for the mayor to come in here like a scene out of a Malcolm X movie with 30 or 40 people from the Fruit of Islam as a form of intimidation. I know that the Muslims are peaceable people, but when a mayor comes here like that, that's a form of intimidation. We should not be intimidated. We should be able to come here to the planning board and any other forum that is for the public that we express our concerns. Now, Amador, you talked about amending an inclusionary zone. I'm gonna ask Gonzalez, because he's a lawyer. Whatever you don't put in writing, it holds no water. And as we saw from past practices, all the ordinances that you want to move forward, you uphold them if it benefits you. But if the community comes before you, we have no voice. So what is the point of having a body here that doesn't represent the public's interest? And lastly, because I got 26 seconds left, what are you doing about the municipal health insurance? What is happening? And give us an update, because you had a police officer that died because he couldn't get proper, adequate care and prescriptions, and you should have a pool of money for lapse of insurance for people so that you could pay. That shouldn't be something that the people and the municipal workers have. I'd like an answer about the health insurance.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker. Thank you.
Miguelina Clark has indicated that she's unable to appear today, so the next speaker is Felicia Alston Singleton.
Oh, you dismissed me? That's what happened here? 2018, y'all, change.
Did you call Magdalene Clark?
She indicated she would not.
Oh,
she could not attend.
I wasn't paying attention. I apologize.
Ms. Singleton?
Next speaker, please.
Felicia Alston Singleton.
Thank you.
Good afternoon again, Council.
Good afternoon.
Felicia Alston Singleton, Jose Rosario. I come to you this afternoon with a broken heart. As you look around the council chambers, basically everyone left. There's disappointment within the council. But I'm coming on a lighter note to say that every one of your employees and aides are very respectful to citizens when I come there. They've always serviced the community. However, at the last city council meeting, which made the local talk and the NJ.com of chaos within City Hall, because of an employee of the administration's comment to one of my residents. I am a tenant advocate first, so I advocate for tenants. My suggestion is that she resign. Dawn Hayes resign for making her comment that one of the residents should live with rats or chose to live with rats. That's what caused the chaos in the corner. So to portray two activists in here like they caused a scene or someone made a comment to the mayor, that's a representation of government. And administration, mayor, and the chief of staff, if she doesn't resign by this afternoon, I call and demand that you fire her. That's unacceptable. That anyone will come and disrespect the residents that actually put you into office, but not you, the legislative body. Your staff has been truly respectful to me. But as far as the administrative staff, you don't sign up for a daytime council meeting, and that's, Lisa said it best, it's depth of time. Who do you think you are? Like we just supposed to overlook you cheering in the corner, yelling out stuff. We have the right, the freedom of speech. And who are you to take that from us? We feel disrespected. But better yet, I could better put this, and it was placed on Facebook because I wasn't here. Madam President, when you and Mayor, now then Councilman Baraka, upset the council chambers and did whatever you had to do when they was going to swear Shanique's face in, I wasn't here for that, but I saw it on Facebook. You came out of your seat to come down to the podium, to then say, I'm a resident first. You didn't sign up to speak. Give us our right, give us our time, give what we deserve, respect. I demand that her resignation be turned in. I demand, if it's not, that she be fired. And I demand that you respect us at this podium. But on the inclusionary zoning, because I hope we had that clear and understood. I have never disrespected anyone. To question or to challenge my elected officials is not disrespect. Question versus statement. Message versus the messenger, I guess. I guess you have to be my aunt or my mama for me to get some attention and company time to address my issues. Inclusionary zoning, this pamphlet was passed out by the mayor on Monday night. Please get a copy. 8 units, because we're going to close Terrell Homes down and you're not building the MX3. 80 units will be will be newly structured. 16 of those units, 16 will be affordable. 2 for 40%, 2 for 60%, and 4 for 80%. Where's Terrell Homes going? Your inclusionary zoning needs to be strengthened, and you passed it. I thought you was going to stand up and make history. You didn't make history. You became a common piece of the American or state of New Jersey dream. You would have made history by putting in 60%, 40%, lowering the standards. Because guess what? Garden Spires is going, Spruce Spires is going, Terrell Homes is going, Stratford is going, Johnson is going, and Brunswick, where Yanira Cortez stood up for her kids and herself and got disrespected, that's going too. And the Foxes are the most egregious, I agree with the mayor on that, slumlords in the city of Newark that's still doing business. Another disrespect to the residents. I just wish that we can all come together. Why can't we agree to disagree? My fellow colleagues agreed for the inclusionary zoning, and we didn't argue about it, we didn't fight about it. They took their stance, I took my stance. The only one person that said up the percentage, baby. I took my stance, and I'm gonna come up here every month and keep telling you, amend it and up the percentage, because you will see we're left out, you're left out, your family's left out. But better yet, Terrell Homes is left out, because the mayor signed a letter to condemn, approval for condemnation. How can you say I want to save affordable housing when you're not saving Terrell Homes? Low-income housing. How is that affordable? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Singleton. Next speaker, please.
Gail Muhammad.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
Gail Muhammad, 120 Prince Street, Newark, New Jersey. I'm here today on, let me see my paperwork, I gotta get it right. On January 2014, this body passed an ordinance for sick days for private sector and the city workers here in Newark. So I need to let you guys know what's going on in the Newark Public Schools. These workers that I mentioned, they are workers that work from 2 years to 20 years. And last year, there was 550 per diem employees from non-instructional factory at the Newark Public School, including custodial food service workers and guards. Hundreds of them are per diem workers full-time during the school year. The per diems are not fly-by-night temporarily employees. Almost 70% of the per diems have worked in the Newark Public Schools for the last 3 years or longer. Per diems have no sick days. Newark Public School is the largest employee in the city of Newark that do not provide sick days for their per diems. Public sector employees in the city of Newark with at least 10 employees has been qualified by law to provide 40 hours for 8-hour days of sick days. All employees since the Newark Public School Newark City Hall passed the sick days ordinance was passed in 2014, other cities followed. But at the Newark Public Schools, they did not follow. We have 550 workers that come to work every single day, and they cannot get one sick day from the Newark Public Schools. And this is what's going on in the Newark Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Ramos.
Yeah, Gail, I know we were scheduled for tomorrow. I apologize that I can't be there, but I was the sponsor and the person that drafted the paid sick leave legislation, and it's very clear that people that work in the city of Newark are entitled to sick leave. So I would extract Ms. Mohammed's comments, attach a copy of the ordinance that the city unanimously approved and the then Mayor Quintana, I believe, signed into law, and send that over to the superintendent of schools and copy all the board members, because they are violating the law if they're not providing our employees there with sick time.
They're not. Thank you, Councilman.
Madam President,
I left something in your office.
Ms. Mohammed.
Ms. Mohammed.
You say if that ordinance, part of the ordinance was to protect people that go to restaurants and the workers are, they say, we don't want workers to be sick and serving food. The same is happening with the kids. Let's say we are allowing these individuals, or we are requiring these individuals to go to work sick and exposing the kids to be sick, to become sick. So I believe that's something that we have to work on, something that if they are in violation, they should be brought to compliance with the ordinance of the city.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Janet Andrade.
Yes, ma'am.
Janet Andrade over on Nesbitt Street in the Central Ward. I have a few topics. Last council meeting I attended, they were talking about police only like to enforce state ordinances. And also the meeting on Monday, the mayor touched on a few points where they want people to start taking more public transportation. State ordinances, one, parking and bus stops. From what I've spoken to the meter maids, most of the people that park in the bus stops right on Broad Street in front of Starbucks, in front of, their Whole Foods and whatnot, are city workers. I've caught it for many days, and when the meter maids say they try to ticket them, they get in trouble for ticketing them, because these are mostly city employees parking right on Broad Street in the bus stops, which make it difficult for people to get buses and dangerous. Another thing is there's a state ordinance. You must stop for pedestrians in a crosswalk. I live by the 280 entrance on Clifton Ave. How many times I've almost been run over? There's been 3 accidents just last week at that entrance, and I always say about texting and driving is, I think, another very important thing, where you guys just earlier joked about someone being on the phone while they're driving. I've almost been run over in a crosswalk by an off-duty police officer in her private car because she was on the phone. Literally almost ran me over, but I don't walk around with my phone in my hand because I'm too busy looking around to make sure I don't get killed in a crosswalk. But these are all state ordinances. The police's response to this, nobody pays their tickets. Well, if you catch most of these people doing it, they are not Newark residents. They are people who drive in and out every day from Florham Park, out Route 10, up 280, all these affluent neighborhoods who can afford tickets. So I'm pretty sure if they get ticketed and they start getting booted and their licenses start getting suspended for non-payment of tickets, because I'm a unlicensed driver and I know all about unpaid tickets and getting suspended, most of these people would damn sure be paying tickets, which would mean revenue for the city, which nobody thinks about. Instead, the police are busy chasing down poor people in the streets who are really just committing misdemeanors, little small incidences. Another thing with the recycling. Still didn't get it picked up. The last time I said something, it took about 6 weeks to get my recycle picked up. You said that you're working a new contract, but when I'm walking the dog, I see everybody else's recycling getting picked up except my block. The mayor said about gentrification, high-rise buildings don't mean gentrification. No, gentrification means displacement, which is exactly what he's doing. He's sitting here trying to displace everybody and saying it's not gentrification. You're right, it's displacement. It is gentrification. Displacement should be what it's really being called, because there is no plan for people. You're basically just sitting here saying we're going to build these high-rises for all the people who are coming in from, what was it, Amazon, Goldman Sachs, Prudential, Audible, Panasonic. So who are we really doing this for? It pretty much looked like it's another Wall Street venture, because our PATH train runs directly to Wall Street. There's any other PATH train is a transfer, but the direct stop is to Wall Street. So there's a lot of things that the city could be looking at for more revenue. You have people coming in and out, but the police say the tickets are not going to get paid. In the meantime, there's accidents. People are going to get hit. I see so many kids coming in and out of school in my area that are crossing the street and literally almost getting killed, like run over. My children don't live with me, but when they do come or I need someone to come walk the dog, I'm scared that they're gonna get hit by some car and the cops aren't gonna do anything about it because nobody pays their tickets. But texting and driving, I'm pretty sure nationwide, has become pretty much on the rise of leading traffic accidents, leading causes of killing people, but that's not an issue in Newark because nobody pays their tickets. Yet most of the people doing it are the people who are not Newark residents. It's putting Newark residents in danger. It's putting our children in danger because I live right by Branch Brook Park. There's so many children that go through there and nobody cares. You have the Sheriff's Department right there and nobody cares. So what are we doing really for the neighborhood? We're just thinking about the companies putting up all these buildings, displacing the people, and the Ironbound, let's not forget the Ironbound is predominantly Portuguese. Been very hard to get into the Ironbound. I've been in and out of the Ironbound since the late 90s. They're very anti-black. There's a lot of colorism there. So when you're tearing down Terrell homes, it's predominantly people of color. We see where it's going with that. We see it's a very racist, it's very racist in what you're doing behind cleaning up the Ironbound. You're cleaning up the Ironbound for the big companies coming. So where's that really going? You're shaking your head, but I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Because the Ironbound has and always will be very colorist and very anti-black. They sit there and they pick and choose who they want in their neighborhood. That's why the rents are already high as it is. I mean, I'm a white Hispanic, so I know where it comes from. I'm not speaking a lie. I know where half my family comes from and the other half is not. So I'm not lying when I say I know how it is. You guys have more police in the neighborhood for what? Not really getting the revenue from where we need it to come from.
Thank you. Next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Jason Roman.
We need some black representation in those.
Do you know how high the ticket is for not stopping for pedestrians in a crosswalk?
Give it to the clerk. Give it to the clerk, and they will.
Give it to the clerk, and they'll pass it out for you.
I gotta live in the white neighborhoods to get some respect for crossing the street.
How you doing? Good afternoon. My name is Jason Roman, and I'm here to represent and facilitate between the Delavan Place residents and the City of Newark staff in the matter pertaining to this request and complaint. I would like the opportunity for residents to participate in a residential parking permit program. Our street, Delavan Place, is in the North Ward of Newark, composed of 9 houses of 2 floors each, in the following address that I posted in the paper.
Mr. Roman, you neglected to give your address.
I'm sorry?
Did he give your address?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry, 48 Delavan Place.
Apologize.
Well, we have more than one issue. Number one, there's a illegal mechanic shop conducting business in 40 through 42 Delavan Place, which is block 678, lot 67, which many times he leaves 3 to 4 cars unattended. Also, the surrounding streets like Romaine Place and Orrington park their cars unattended because we don't get no street cleaning. So they don't have to move their cars, so they just use it as storage. Not being able to park in our neighborhood can be frustrating and hard to keep tenants. Also, Delavan Place is an extremely narrow street. Navigating through a small, tight street is impossible for the city design workers, as they often do not have access to our street due to the unregulated car parked on both sides of the street. Because of this, our safety is often at risk due to the fact that we have experienced that no emergency vehicles could never fit through. I'd like to mention, like I mentioned previous, we have never been served with street cleaning, and there are times our garbage goes unattended for weeks. And in the wintertime, we've never been plowed or cleaned since I've been the owner of this house for 4 years. I'm speaking to you today to seek help in resolving this problem. And this problem is causing myself and the residents of Delavan Place much concern. I hope that we could, with your help, I could resolve this. I also share some pictures. The picture shows the map of where I'm located at. It also shows how the entering, I labeled it. It says entering the street, how tight it is, how you cannot go through the label says entering. Also, you can see these pictures as you cannot enter our street. Also, the one that says storage. As you can see, there's a Volkswagen with a tarp on. That car belongs to Orrington. Been left there for years. unattended. As you could see in that picture, there's a storage. He take it 2 spots. Also on Broadway, because we share, our street is just one inlet and one outlet. We share the backyard of Broadway, and we share the backyard of Arlington Street. Now, 559 and dash 561 on Broadway, the backyard, the one with the blue label, they decided to open their backyard, knock that wall, which is out of code because I looked it up, and decided to have parking for the residents there, but then eliminated us to park. Then you can see the picture of the garbage. That's 2 weeks. Never been picked up. I have a whole bunch of confirmation numbers that I've been given by the garbage, by complaining, core enforcers. Then the other set of pictures is the pictures of the mechanic. That's lot 67 in that block. It's registered as a Class 2, which is a residential lot. It's also a 15C. He does not have no rights to have a mechanic shop in that residential area. He does not have it registered. The owner actually lost it a year and a half ago. And the mechanic working right now, he's actually working on city property as we speak. You could see how there's oil spills. There's a picture of him. You could see him where it says service. You could see him adding gas to a vehicle that he left outside. Then you see the vehicle inside. Also, you see in another picture how he works outside and leaves the cars outside. Again, more pictures of him working on vehicles. I mean, it's besides the whole issue that we never been serviced. I pay, in the papers that I gave you shows that I pay $8,000 and some change in taxes. The people across the street from Arlington pay $5,000, but yet get all these services. I get stranded with 6 inches of snow because of the regulations of the street. If we could put on one side no parking and the other side the parking permits for the 9 houses, all this issue would be resolved. The last thing, I did bring it up to the office of Ramos 7 months ago. The emails are there. I got my own petition. I wrote it up. I made it because the city of Newark doesn't provide that. And everybody signed it. I also sent the PDF as an email. I also followed up. Numbers of time. It's been 7 months and nothing been taken care of. When I asked to speak direct, I know you mentioned that you have an open door policy. When I did ask to speak to you, your staff told me that the reason that's not possible, that's why they have a staff. Unfortunately, this needs to be resolved. It's dangerous. Just number one, no ambulance and no fire truck could fit through there.
Madam President.
Yes.
First of all, I just want to thank Mr. Roman for appearing before us. You know, I am familiar with some of your issues, especially related to 42 Delavan Place, which, you know, I had an opportunity to talk to economic development. It's a city-owned property, and we're actually in the process now of putting that up as part of the city's rolling sale so that we can dispose of that property and get someone to come in and buy it, and immediately we're going to work on securing that property so that we can get rid of the illegal mechanic shop. I also spoke to our new Public Works Director, Mr. Thomas, concerning the fact that sanitation is not doing their job as far as picking up garbage on a consistent basis. And I offer an apology on behalf of our office regarding the fact that we did not follow through on the requests for residential parking on this block. That's an easy ask. I myself now have handled that, working with the engineering department so that we can have legislation before us, hopefully later on this month, so we can approve it and have those signs installed. So the fact that you didn't get, you know, the kind of response that you should have gotten is something that I personally apologize for, and I will be dealing with my staff on that issue.
Mr. Roman, I do have a question. How did you acquire an aerial picture of the area?
Google Maps.
Well, of my phone.
Is that where it came from?
Yeah, you could get the satellite view and the map view, and I just wanted to make it easier for you to get a pinpoint. You know, I'm just trying to hit the nail. Just get this done and over with. I really appreciate your time and your.
Is that a one-way street?
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
Is it a one-way street?
Correct. What it is if you give me 1 minute, if you're in Broad Street, now in Broadway, and before McDonald's and White Castle, there's Delavan Place. You'll make a right on Delavan Place, and then you will make a quick right again on Delavan Avenue, make a right,
Avenue.
and then Delavan Place. There's only one way in. What I'm requesting is, on the right-hand side, no parking at all. And then on the left side will be the parking permit.
Yes,
So that would eliminate the garbage issues, the plowing, the street cleaning, and in general, all the frustration and all this.
No, well, we get you. I believe that's something that, as Councilman Ramos indicated, that's an easy ask, and I believe that can be done very quickly.
Yeah, Madam President.
Yes,
and
Councilman.
I would just add that their street is very unique, so a lot of times you wouldn't even know that was a city street. Same thing with Nursery. It's a very small street, which runs off, one of the major avenues. So that's what happens sometimes where they're forgotten about when it comes to cleaning up snow during a storm, or the sanitation and recycling routes. Sometimes forget that those are city streets. So, I'm working personally on the residential parking piece, and we'll follow up with your office on some of the other things.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. If the last statement,
Thank
if the illegal mechanic, that could take place like tomorrow or today, that will actually just give us some relief for the next month, for the time frame that it takes to get the parking permit.
Yes.
He's actually working in your property as we speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Ramos will handle it. Next speaker,
Donald Jackson.
not appearing.
10-4 Evans.
Not appearing.
Hope Jackson.
As Ms. Jackson comes up, has anyone spoken to Ms. Evans?
I tried to call her.
I
twice.
called her twice. I did reach her. And
She left the South Ward.
so I thought perhaps someone might have information.
He spoke to her yesterday,
Who did?
Anthony.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Hope Jackson. I live 182 Mapes Avenue, Newark, New Jersey. I'm coming to discuss certain things. I talk about a 40-story building. When I think about a 40-story building, I think about the towering inferno. And I also think about how a ladder can't go that high and helicopter can't get you. But that's one of the things that we just talked about. That's just something that came to mind, but that's not really what I want to address. I want to address the fact that we have this city of Newark, our beloved city that everybody loves and everybody wants to be a part of and everybody wants to be in the decision-making process. We have two enemies that we are fighting. We're fighting poverty with all its attendant symptoms, and we fight racism that goes along with it. And we as citizens coming into this city, we find ourselves attacking the system that might provide us more equity. We have a responsibility as residents to know who your representatives are and to know what they're about. And then when you go to the polls and vote for them, you should know that they are about the same things that you're about, that they have the same values and the same wishes for their city that you have. And you go to the polls and you bring those people in, and then you have to trust them. Then you have to go along with their decision-making, because everybody cannot sit in the seat of decisions. We have a government that says we have a mayor, we have a council, the legislative body, and the administrative body. And then we have the judicial system. That's when we have someone that's interested in the plight of the city, that loves the city, and that sits in the position of running the city and having to make decisions, and that person is dedicated to dealing with the very things that attacked us as citizens, and that's racism and poverty. Those are the two main things. Those are not the only things, but those are the main things. So you have to deal with how can we get rid of some of this poverty in the city of Newark that keeps our city from progressing and doing the things that it used to be. Newark used to be a city of 470,000 people. It's down to 200,000 now. That should tell us something. We have to deal with the vacant lots. We have to deal with the crime. The two things that you got to bring about jobs. And how do you bring about jobs? You bring about jobs the best way you know how, and the way that's going to be most beneficial to the citizens. And then we have to deal with the poverty. We have to deal with the mindset of those people that think that they can continue or they should continue to live in substandard housing, that they should continue to live with poor schools, and that they can fight to prevent someone from providing better housing because they're content with living in that poverty state. We have to fight against that as citizens, and fighting against our representatives is certainly not the way. We need to come together as a people and sit down and talk about the things that are most important. We need jobs in the city, and we have to do the things that's going to bring jobs. We need to do something about the vacant lots in the city and the density of buildings coming in here, a way of doing it, as well as bringing in jobs. Now, I cannot fault anybody from trying to hold their neighborhood the way that they want it to be, but progress says it must be different now. And how is that going to affect me individually? Is it going to be to the benefit of me and my children, or is it going to be a detriment, or I'm just holding on to something because that's what I want to do? Or because I have a personal feeling against somebody, they didn't do what I said do, they didn't do it exactly the way I want it done, so now I'm going to attack that person publicly and do all things detrimental to that person as I can do. It's been a long time since we've had a mayor in this town that cares about people like our mayor does, and I don't care what people might feel about him personally. Is he doing the job to eradicate poverty? Is he trying to bring jobs into this city? Is he trying to combat racism and fight against it as an enemy to his people, the people that he represents? And I direct these questions to the council. Are you working with him? Are you supporting the facts, the things that needs to be done for the constituency you represent? That's what we need to be about. Coming to this podium, calling people all out of their names and raucous, belligerent attitudes, cursing people out, taking a public council meeting and turning it into a melee. That's detrimental. That only runs you headlong into the gentrification that you are accusing people of. You're running headlong toward it because it's got to be fought against, but we've got to bring progress and we got to bring new people. We're sending our children to college. When they come back, they got to have a decent place to live and a safe place to live, and they got to want to come back. You cannot be standing around fighting against the progress that this city needs so badly. So I implore all people, I love my folk, I implore you to stand together and realize what's going on and be well informed when you come against somebody. When you come against something that's getting ready to take place in the city, to be well informed about it and realize what is it going to do for me as an individual? What is it going to do for my children, my grandchildren, and my cousins and nieces and nephews and my neighbors that live in it? Is it going to be a benefit to them? Is it going to be beneficial to them? How does it hurt? How does it benefit? We have a responsibility to know these things and to come together and fight for them. And to hold our representatives responsible. They have, all of these representatives just about have community meetings, attend the meetings and ask the questions there. Do your job as a citizen of Newark because you love Newark. Do the things that's going to bring Newark back, not detrimental.
Rosemary Horsley.
Are you, Miss Andrade, are you related to Becky Andrade?
Rosemary Horsley, 9 Trail Homes. First of all, I just want to show you and the audience what we at Terrell Homes is fighting for. To have it believed, housing is stating that we are living in a hovel, that our places that we stay are not worth living there, that they are so far from up to date that it has to be torn down. That is a lie. As you see, this is the apartments. The bottom connections are the park. I access the park from my apartment right here. When that park was built, we were padlocked right there out of the park. Estimates was giving of how much it would cost to rehabilitate Terrell homes. I say different. We had less estimates, and they still says it has gone too far. Now, I feel objectified to hear that where I live is so horrible. I could not get other people's apartment pictures, but here's a picture of my apartment. Baby, my apartment stays clean and nice. Any one of you up there would love to come sit down and have a cup of tea with me. Now, who wants Terrell homes? Who's in whose pocket and who's being paid? And who do we believe? 2012, 2013, like I said, all this propaganda was being given out. Terrell homes was being closed, people was given vouchers, people was being sent here and there, all of which is a lie. Who do we trust? Housing also gave out different amounts of money, claiming they will pay different amount of money if you move out of your apartment, how much they was going to pay you to move, how much they was going to pay for your cable, etc., etc. All lies and propaganda. Now, we had a meeting at 500 Broad Street. I'm sorry, Osborne is gone. We had a meeting at 500 Broad Street. Terrell Homes did not know nothing about this meeting. They were voting yay or nay for the demolish Terrell Homes. Oh, we surprised them, baby. When they came, we were all sitting in front in our shirts. They thought it was going to be an easy slay, but it was not. I want to thank Charlie Bell. Also, I want to thank Eddie Osborne for all the great pep talk they gave us, for how everybody was listening to us and understanding where we were coming from, how well we were doing keeping low-income housing and the housing authorities open. And I also want to thank him for being the first one to say yes to the demolishment of Terrell Homes. Him and Charlie Bell. But who do we trust? We know who put Charlie Bell and who put Osborne in their seats. Our illustrious mayor. We also visited the mayor in his chambers, and I was close to him as I am to this young lady here. I held his hands and I looked into his eyes, and I said, Mayor, please tell me you don't want me to lose my home. And he said, I am neither yay or nay about that. I have no thoughts on that. And later on, we find out 2 weeks before that, he had already signed papers for the demolition of Terrell Homes. I say, who do we trust?
Ms. Horsley.
Who do we trust? But I'm going to go ahead and close because my time is up. But I just want to say, we, the residents at Terrell Homes, will not be thrown out and displaced and scattered all over North. We are far from dead.
Ms. Horsley, you said you recognize. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Dorothy Brazil.
Appearing.
Hello, my name is Dorothy Brazel. I live 33 Riverview Place, North. I'm here today to say, what would they accomplish if they demolish Terrell Homes? I've been there since '72, and if they was to demolish Terrell Homes, I don't know what I would do, because I'm so used to being there. I'm safe there. They talk about it like it's nothing, but it's something to me because I'm still living there for 50 years. And I would like if the council people would help us save Terrell Homes. Don't blow it up, fix it up. I would appreciate that very much. I was running around for my community. I'm the vice president where I live at, to help my community. I love my community. I love people. And I had went to the doctor. The doctor told me my pressure was 290. But I still fought, and I'm going to still be fighting until the end, because I'm one of the Terrell tenants, and nobody's going to turn me or my tenants around.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brazel. Next speaker, please.
Excuse me. Rita Fortenberry.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Rita Fortenberry. I live at 26 Review Terrace in Newark. I'm the TA president of Terrell Homes. Before I start, Madam Chair, I'd like to say thank you to you and your staff. I commented last month, but you weren't here, for the help for our back-to-school program.
Thank you.
Was deeply appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now I'm here to talk about Terrell Homes. We come all the time, constantly talking about Terrell Homes. This is not just bricks and mortar. This is our home where we live. This is our village. This is where we care about each other. We're a community. We're a family. We don't have to be brought together by blood. We're just family. We care about each other. We're families there. We're elderly there. We're just family. And like Ms. Horsley said, we went to the meeting on September 28th, 2017 to Newark Housing Authority. And Councilman Osborne, I'm sorry he's not here, I would like to address him, I'm gonna talk about him anyway. He's a councilman at large, he's a commissioner of housing, he's a union man, he's supposed to be a part of housing, but he doesn't show us that he cares about us. He smile in our face and tell lies. Oh, you're doing a good job, keep it up, keep it up. And when you're voting against us, you don't even have the nerve to look at us. Your head is down. And we waited outside for him and Charlie Bell to come out, and he didn't even come our way. He couldn't even look at us. That's not what real men do. If you have a conviction, you stand by it. And we have a conviction, we stand together. We're not going anywhere. What happened to us and what they did to us made us stronger and better and wiser. Just like the ashes, we rise up. We rise up together, and we're going to continue to fight. And Councilman Almador, you are our councilman for the East Ward. We appreciate you. We appreciate you having our meetings and talking with us. All we ask you to do is to continue to tell us the truth and don't lie to us, and you will always get our respect. Our vote is not for sale. You have to be true to us and be fair to us to get our vote. 2018 is approaching very soon and rapidly. And just like Ms. Horsley said, we went to a meeting at the mayor's office. He stood in our face and said that he did not do anything about housing authority. He has no control there. Well, I beg to differ, because he signed his name February 2nd, 2017. Where is it? Excuse me. Yes. This is his signature. That's the mayor's signature there. He signed it. So don't lie to us. Tell us the truth from the door. We don't appreciate liars. We want to be told the truth. And you don't care about people. We are Newarkers. We are part of the community. We're taxpayers. We're registered voters. Oh, yes, we're registered voters. And even though we live in the East Ward, we got family that live all over Newark and up and beyond. And we will be talking to them. So we're going to stand up. We're going to find out who's going to stand with us. And we're going to keep on coming back till we get what we want. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Carmen Cardona.
I'm sorry, where's she, Drew? Oh, not appearing.
Janet Rolette.
Not appearing. There's
Victor
one more.
Enoch Galvanes.
I don't remember.
We have an additional on the
added sheet.
Oh.
Victor Enoch Gavilanes, 34 22nd Street, Irvington, New Jersey. Good afternoon, Council President, and those of you left here from Council. I had something nicely written up to address you folks today, especially the audience. But after hearing everything that's transpired today, you know, I just got to speak from the heart. First and foremost, let me just speak on this riverfront redevelopment. Let me just say, it's just going to cause so much, not just only change the view and the landscape of our city, but also bring in tons of traffic, tons of pressure on an infrastructure that has not been updated yet in our city. And not for nothing, did the developers think to talk to residents around the proposed development area? And I'm not talking about community forum, because you don't really get to hear everybody's voice when everybody's hooting and hollering. Let me just keep it clear. But just like an organizer would do, and just like anybody who wants to put their message across or wants to survey a community, you do the door-to-door. Did the developers do any of that? You know, I don't think so, because there's swarms of residents in the Ironbound and around who just think that this idea is preposterous, and it's going to cause more harm than good. And not for nothing, you guys are going to have to outweigh the negative options when that comes down on you guys, when that actually gets pushed through. If not you, then the next council is going to have to deal with the backlash of poor decisions that was made here in this chamber. Second, I would like to speak on behalf of the families and folks at Terrell Homes. As a community activist, a community organizer in the Ironbound and different areas of Newark, I had the privilege of sitting in the actual apartments, drinking coffee, inviting me in for lunch, dinner, having that nice little chit-chat with them. You know, the majority of folks at Terrell Homes complain about electricity, drug dealings, and violence. I hear from time to time, I hear them talk about the mold issue, the pipes leaking issues. That's NHA's responsibility to take care of. But since they let go of 43% of their maintenance workers, I mean, what do you expect is going to happen to a building that's been around since the 40s? It's going to dwindle, right? I mean, City Hall's been here for way longer than that, and we see the roof in the hallways is falling. That's why y'all got that big net, right? So, you know, you guys have somebody tending to City Hall, because if NHA was taking care of City Hall, you guys would be getting demolished too. Let's just put that out there. Now, let me tell you, man, the deficit that NHA claims stems from neglect, stems from not putting the pressure and actually enforcing what's on that lease. Oh, you're right, code enforcement. But as well, you know, you got tenants there living and not paying rent. How is that the fault of everybody else who pays rent there? Why do everybody else who lives there, who's paying their rent, who's being responsible, have to deal with the fact that they're going to lose their homes because a small portion of folks, possibly what, like a building and a half worth of residents, haven't been paying their rent at Terrell Homes? You know, when you talk about that it's crumbling, I've been in every single building. I've walked up and down them steps, I see more garbage and more, you know, let me just be honest with you guys. There's like 2 hallways with steps messed up. Just 2 hallways. Everything else, it's in pretty good shape. That building could last another 40, 50, maybe 60 years. And if they maintain it, it could last 100 years. Let's keep it real. It's neglect of maintaining the property. That's all it is. You're talking about a high cost of money that got to go into this. Man, hire some more maintenance workers. Let's start fixing this up. That's all it is. And you know, I'm just disappointed in my last 19 seconds, man. I just want to say I don't have to give you guys a history lesson when it comes into speaking about Columbus. But it disheartens me and it pisses me off to see my black and brown brothers and sisters standing in front of me clueless on this point. You know, and I'm just going to say that. I don't even want to get disrespectful, man. Don't be sellouts, man. Chill with that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I did see Donald Jackson come in.
A few of the, Tiffany Huertas is here.
Oh, I'm sorry. We did not hear from Janet. We heard from the last speaker.
We did, that was the last speaker. But we have a couple of individuals that we passed over who didn't appear, who are here now. I understand.
A couple, who are they? Ooh.
Tiffany Huertas is here, and and Donald Jackson.
Who are they? I only saw Mr. Jackson come in.
And she's...
Well, if you're here and you were not heard earlier from the list, please come forward. I only saw Mr. Jackson.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Huertas.
Okay.
I live 186 Bloomfield Avenue, Newark. I'm the new North Ward aide to the mayor. Just wanted to introduce myself formally to the council. And I wanted to invite everyone to the Hurricane Maria Relief Fund for Puerto Rico. We're having a benefit concert and fundraiser this weekend, Saturday, October 7th, from 10 to 10 in the North Ward of Newark, 870 Mount Prospect Avenue. Thank you.
Do you have flyers?
Yes.
Could you make sure we get a flyer?
Of course.
Yes, I'm sorry, Councilman.
147.
And then at 147 Verona Avenue the next day on Sunday, October 8th. They're also doing a fundraiser.
So please make sure that we get them, and anyone who's in the chambers, if they choose, make sure we get that that information.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson?
Don't make it a habit. We're coming late.
Definitely not. Donald Jackson, 79 Tracy Avenue, Newark, New Jersey, 07108, 1531. So I got my schedule mixed up and I thought I was off today, but I had to work and I actually made it on time. I don't have none of my material with me, so I'm just going to speak from the heart like I most affectionately do most of the time. The last council meeting I attended here, I was accompanied by Ms. Jackson. Most of you know her, and you know that if you see her, I'm not too far behind, and vice versa, and it's been that way for at least 15 years. And being elected to the school board, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and to the process and the way things work, and how you have to use democracy. And, you know, we throw that word around and I think we take it for granted, but we can't also be hypocrites when we say we have to abide by the democratic process, right? So if citizens come to this venue, much like they did at the board meeting, to voice their concerns and their opinions, we can't tell them whether they're right or wrong. We can try to find solutions, try to fact find about the things that they say and work towards them. Even if they address us as a public servants address us in, manners that we might not necessarily agree with. I know people in the circle or outside have, said that, oh, they don't care, or they just sit up there. Well, that might be true for some people, but, I know I did work and I tried the best that I could to serve my community. And I say that to say this. I don't want to dwell too much on the events that got us removed from the council meeting. I think we got them moved unlawfully, but Ms. Jackson didn't want to pursue that issue at the time, so I'm going to just let it go. But the fact of the matter is, it seems like anytime someone comes to voice an opinion or voice a fact on issues that they have in this city, they get attacked or told, oh, that's not true, that didn't happen, that's not factual, this, that, the third. And I can't speak for anyone, but I can say this. Me and Ms. Jackson have been doing, well, she's been doing this way before me. But when we go out here in the street, we come back and give information, and we fight for the people who come to us, who we know, who are having issues and who are suffering, not only in the school system, but here on the street. Issues that they have when they had to come to City Hall and get a service that wasn't rendered. So we don't have time to make these things up. We honestly don't. I'm sure people don't come up to this mic just to make things up. Some people, can be a little, I don't want to use the word dramatic, because some of these issues are life and death, and it's very strenuous. And I think that the people who unfortunately serve in some of these positions to help people don't realize the detriment and the need and the issues that residents have. So I want to ask this quick question. Who right now, if they had to, has enough money to up and move from their house? Like your lights went off, you had a rodent problem. Who right now got enough money in the bank to say, I got a U-Haul truck, I got movers, I got things to pack up my clothes, and I got a place to go, and I have enough money to put down a security deposit? Do you know to move, just in Newark, you need to have at least $2,000? And that ain't even include no security and first month rent. You know how much a U-Haul truck costs? And the reason why we had an issue, because staffers in City Hall heckled someone who came and talked about the services that they weren't rendered when they came to City Hall to seek those services. And it's mind-boggling to me, because some of these people were on this side of the mic not too long ago. And it's just hilarious how now the script is flipped, how you work in City Hall and you see the issues, because you once lived those issues. Now you want to tell people, oh, that's not true. Oh, get your facts right. Oh, that's your choice to live there. Who wants to live with rodents? Can someone please honestly tell me that? Who wants to live with them? And I know that the rodents are out of control, because every time I go out to take the garbage, I got to worry about a rat running from the sewer behind my house. I got to worry about a rat jumping in the garbage can. Thank God I haven't seen any in the house. But these are serious issues, and people don't make this stuff up. Who wants to come here and to air out rodents running around their apartment as if, that's not embarrassing enough, and you're coming to seek help and you're made fun of? So that's all I really got to say for now. And thank you for allowing me to come back and speak.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk. Just before, Drew, can you wait 1 minute before you leave? Yes.
Madam President, that concludes the list of speakers. The next hearing of citizens will be held on Wednesday, October 18th at 6:30 p.m. here in the council chamber.
What? Who? How come I don't have a Puerto Rican flag? I'm sorry. We're solving it.
Louis got it.
Council President, we have a pre-printed motion.
You have a pre-printed?
From Councilwoman Cheneyfield Jenkins. Her staff provided it to me.
Yes.
Thank you to all who participated this weekend in the Central Ward tree planting that took place on Martin Luther King Boulevard. Because of the help of the New Jersey Tree Foundation, Rutgers University Pavilion Properties, Newark Housing Authority, and all the residents who participated, 11 new trees were planted. Thank you.
Council as a whole.
Amador? Yes. Gonzalez? Yes. James? Yes. Ramos?
Yes.
President Crump.
Yes. Councilman James has two motions.
Three announcements. Number one, I want to thank 7-Eleven for doing a groundbreaking at 240 Elizabeth Avenue. I'd also like to announce the stand down of North Jersey for veterans at the JFK Center. That's going to be on October 14th, Saturday. It's going to be from 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. And my annual South Ward meeting is going to be Saturday, October 21st, from 9 to 11 a.m., 400 Hawthorne Avenue. It's the NAN Tech World Center. All are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Roll call, please.
Amador.
Yes.
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 Ramos.
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
I want to talk about that next week.
Let's talk about it next week.
Roll call to adjourn.
Council as a whole, roll.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
President Crump.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Donald, you got to say.